Okay, there is action coming out of closed session. Make a motion to approve new hires as presented by the superintendent.
I'm sorry, did you make that motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Hubbard. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Chavez. All in favor? A motion passes.
And then I'll make a motion to approve personnel requests as presented by the superintendent.
Made by Ms. Hubbard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Padilla. And all in favor? And motion passes.
And that is it.
Okay. So we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and don't forget to stay standing for we can recite the vision after the moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
If you feel so led, join us in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. So you'll find the vision and mission on the top of your agenda if you need it. So Hutto ISD aspires to be the premier choice in education through innovation, leadership, and diversity. And the mission statement, Phonation inspires excellence in academics, character, and community. All right. So next we have our district recognitions, and we'll start with Hippos of the Month.
So welcome parents, teachers, and students for our monthly recognition. To all our parents and our students who are online, congratulations on this honor. As the board just recited our mission statement, we inspire excellence in academics, character, and community. So your children tonight are being recognized because of one of those or a combination of those characteristics that we inspire here in Hutto ISD. So congratulations to you, moms and dads, grandmas, guardians, and congratulations to all of our Hippos of the Month. And we're going to start out with Miss Spachicano, principal at Cottonwood Creek Elementary. Spachicano, tell us about your Hippo of the Month.
Good evening, everyone, and hello, parents. I'm excited. I do see Mr. and Mrs. Fields in the audience, and so congratulations. I'm excited to share one of our 5th grade students with the board today and be able to recognize the student. His name is Carson Fields. And so Carson, I don't see you on my screen, but I know that you're there and I just want to celebrate you this evening. And so let me share what his 5th grade teachers had to say, because all of the teachers unanimously voted Carson for this recognition. When we think of a leader in 5th grade, what sticks with us is someone who does good, even when no one else is watching. Someone who does the right things for the right reasons, expecting the right results. That is Carson Fields. This student works extremely hard academically. If he has questions, he asks, and he wants to succeed, and he often does. He is also the kindest child you will ever meet. Just one example that comes to us right away is that we also have in 5th grade a student who is wheelchair bound. And every single day, Carson is grabbing that student's backpack and assisting her in going to their next class. Or sometimes he can be found pushing her wheelchair to lunch. He is not asked to do this at all. He is not told to do this at all. He just does it because it's in his heart. Carson has truly made each one of us stop and think about the good that we can do for others. The teachers leave us with a quote that they feel really embody Carson's character. And this is what they say: if your actions inspire others to dream more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Carson, you are a leader. Thank you for being part of our 5th grade group in Cottonwood Creek Elementary. And that quote was from John Quincy Adams. Congratulations, Carson.
Yay. Thank you, Ms. Pachigano. Ms. Rosser?
Yes, good evening, all. I hope everyone is well. I get to recognize Miss Haven Ward, one of our fabulous 3rd grade students, and I believe I saw Mrs. Ward's name on the screen, so I know that she is out there listening. Haven was nominated by her 3rd grade homeroom teacher, Mrs. Bowen, and Haven is actually new to our campus this school year, and she's already made a huge impact on her peers and her teachers, and I'll share what Miss Bowen wrote about you, Haven. She says, Haven is new to HES and has displayed every aspect of the Hippo way. She is hardworking and perseveres through every challenge she faces. And I have to say, every time I hear Haven's name mentioned, I hear how hardworking she is and how kind and compassionate she is. Miss Bowen says that her kindness is actually contagious and she's always there to lend a helping hand. And a recent example of that is when Haven got to trade in some of her dojo points for a prize, but she saw another student in her class visibly upset. I guess he did not have enough points to get the prize he wanted. And so Haven decided to go present her prize to him to make him feel better. And Ms. Bowen said the smile on that student's face showed how her kindness can lift others when they are down. Keep spreading the joy, Haven. Haven, we're so glad you joined HES and Hippo Nation, and I'm super proud of you. Thank you for being our Hippo of the Month.
Way to go. Thank you, Ms. Rosser. All right, Ms. Abrams, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Miss Abrams, principal at Howard Norman Elementary, and I don't believe Bentley and her family were able to make it on this evening, but we are recognizing our 4th grader, Bentley Wolf, tonight. She is a true leader at Howard Norman. She's being recognized tonight mostly for being super proactive. So if she's ever having any internet issues, which I know not everybody out there, has ever had any of those, but if you've ever had any technology issues, Bentley will jump and make sure she talks to her teachers before her virtual learning starts and make sure that they know that she's having those issues. And so she's always proactive. She's always also one of the ones that leads her group leaders. Recently, Google has offered some separate little groups that students can go in, and she's always one of the group leaders for her group, making sure they're staying on task. So we're super proud of you tonight, Bentley, for being proactive and being a great leader at Howard Norman. And know that you're not on tonight, but hopefully we can get you pictures and recordings. And we also celebrated her at campus.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Abrams. All right, and I think Ms. Rogarello was unable to join us tonight, but we have Ms. Radcliffe who is going to join us in presenting Curley Elementary.
Good evening. We would like to recognize Shiloh Brissino. Ms. Caswell nominated Shiloh for this award. I would like to nominate Shiloh Brissino for Student of the Month. She is such a role model of a student. She is always eager to help her teachers and her peers any chance she gets. She always does an amazing job of juggling all of her responsibilities. She is part of our robotics team and is one of the hardest working students we have. Shiloh is always asking if she can practice her robot driving skills any free moment she gets. She's always asking if she could help any of her classmates with their work, and she keeps herself on the honor roll. Shiloh is such a wonderful role model, and we are so impressed with her every day. Congratulations, Shiloh. We are so proud of you.
Thank you. And now from Nadine Johnson Elementary, Mrs. Reichel, are you on?
I am on. Thank you so much. And I believe that Kylie's family is on. I think I might have seen her mom's name. So Kylie, are you out there? Well, I don't hear her, but I hope that Kylie's out there listening. Kylie is, oh, good, perfect. Okay, awesome. Kylie is a 4th grade student in our school, and Kylie was unanimously voted by all of her teachers as our Hippo of the Month. She is in Miss Pittman's 4th grade class, and Miss Pittman is also here to celebrate in Kylie's success. Kylie is the definition of a hard worker. Her teachers teach at least 45 4th grade students in person, but Kylie has made a name for herself. There are many reasons that her name stands out amongst the rest, but most of all, it's because of her perseverance. School might come easy for some students and it might be hard for others. Carly is someone that really works hard for her success. No matter how hard the content is, you will never see Kylie give up. Instead, Kylie perseveres and always gives it her all. There is not a day when Kylie doesn't participate. Even though she doesn't know if her answers are correct, she always puts her best foot forward and continues to put forth effort in everything that she does. At Nadine Johnson, we know that behavior is really important as it's the first step to academic success. Kylie is a leader in her class and models excellent behavior. She can be counted on by her teachers to positively help others who are struggling. Not only can they count on Kylie, but her classmates can as well. This week, we've had a substitute, and her teacher's been teaching virtually to her class. And Kylie, I'm in there every day, and Kylie is always showing her best effort and always is showing responsibility and respectful behavior. And I can always count on her even when I have gone in there as well. So thank you, Kylie, for that. Her teacher said that they had a new student start school at Nadine Johnson, and within a day, their new student was able to observe that Kylie is a friend that they can count on. Kylie deserves to be recognized as Student of the Month. She is an exemplary student, and we are so lucky to have Kylie at Nadine Johnson. Great job, Kylie.
Way to go, Kylie. Yay. See the whole family on the screen. That's awesome. Way to go, Kylie. Thank you, Mrs. Reichel. All right, and now from Ray Elementary, Mrs. Campbell, are you on?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Aurora has joined us, but Aurora is our Hippo of the Month. I can't see the other screen, so hopefully she's out there somewhere. Okay, so she is one of our 1st grade students in Mrs. Cruz's class, and she is a part of our dual language program. Aurora demonstrates how to be a good friend. She likes to help others in her class. She is respectful, responsible, and always follows expectations. Her teachers, they've noticed that Aurora, she's kind and she's willing to work hard, and her daily practice of treating others nicely. She sets quite an example for others to follow. She does her best in class, and she always has her work done on time. They can always count on her to be honest, and she is a pleasure to have in class. So congratulations, Aurora, for being our December Hippo of the Month at Ray Elementary.
Way to go, Aurora. Thank you, Mrs. Campbell.
You're welcome.
All right, Veterans Hill Elementary, Mrs. Patero.
Hello, good evening. Buenas tardes. I saw Jocelyn's name on the screen, so I know she's out there. Felicidades, Jocelyn. Buenas tardes, Señora Benitez y Señor Garcia, los papás de Jocelyn. Jocelyn is one of our 5th grade students in our bilingual program at Veterans Hill. And we are very excited to celebrate her tonight as our Student of the Month. Jocelyn es una estudiante enérgica. Siempre está motivada para aprender, trabajar, compartir y ayudar a los demás. Sus calificaciones reflejan su determinación. Su alegría y entusiasmo son contagiosos. So Jocelyn is an energetic student. She's always motivated to learn, work, share, and help others. Her grades reflect her determination. Her joy and enthusiasm are contagious. And she was nominated by her teachers, Mr. Garcia and Ms. Zonu. And we're just so proud of Jocelyn. And I want to share one quick little thing about her. She took so much initiative and was so conscientious about making sure that she had the link so that she could log on to the meeting tonight. And that type of initiative that she took in that's how she is at Veterans Hill every day. And we are so proud that she's our student and that she's our Hippo of the month and that she's a part of Hippo Nation. Felicidades, Jocelyn.
Thank you, Mrs. Pedro. Way to go, Miss Jocelyn. All right, Hutto Middle School. Mr. McCullough.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. My name is Jason McCullough. I am the proud principal of Hutto Middle School, and our Hippo of the month this month is Mr. Carson Sharp. Carson, are you out there?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Awesome.
Oh,
thank you for
that's
showing
great.
up. So when we talk about inspiring excellence in academics, character, and community, you're going to be hard pressed to find a 7th grader that does it better than Carson. Mr. Sharp stands out on a campus of more than 1,060 students. He's an awesome athlete and an even better student and friend. His teachers say that he genuinely cares about his work as well as his peers in class. Carson is a true leader on campus and is one of the most humble and hardworking students that we've ever had the pleasure of teaching. Carson openly includes others in his circle and always offers a helping hand to those in need. He's a model student and a magnet. People absolutely love to be around him. I wish that you guys could see him. He's taller than I am. He's one of the biggest kids that we have.
That's pretty tall.
Yeah. So we're grateful to have Mr. Sharp representing Hutto Middle School and Hutto ISD and everything that he does. And we can't wait to see where all of his hard work is going to take him. Congratulations, Mr. Sharp, on being our Hutto Middle School Hippo of the Month.
All right. Way to go, Carson. Thank you, Mr. McCullough. All right, Farley Middle School, Mr. Willoughby. He there?
Statement of 2020. You're on mute.
You find him?
I'm looking to see it.
The statement of 2020. Is that what you said?
Mhm.
Not seeing them.
Maybe we can come back.
Okay, so let's come back to Jamie Griner. If you're on, Miss Jamie, we'll come back to you. We're going to locate Mr. Willoughby. All right, let's move on to.
It's on now.
Oh, he's on now?
Yeah.
Who can't hear him? Is he there?
His mic. Mark Willoughby, are you there? I see his mic is open and
I just chatted. Oh, or something popped up. Maybe it's not a chat.
Oh, there might be some difficulties.
Some difficulties, hello?
There you are.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for your patience. I'm proud to announce that Miss Jamie Griner, as she just acknowledges she's with us. She is our Hippo of the Month at Farley Middle School. And when it comes to thinking about the mission statement or what inspires excellence in academics, character, and community, Jamie Griner is one of the first students that comes to mind. She excels in her coursework, and she's an active part of our student body in the Farley community. She's a Hippo buddy, an office aide, and a cheerleader. And she's always positive and willing to lend a helpful hand to both her peers and her staff. She shows incredible patience and care when working with our students with special needs, and her smile and her gentle spirit is contagious. She helps make FMS a great place to be. Jamie, I'm very proud of you. Well done. Congratulations. And thanks for being a great kid.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Way to go, Miss Jamie. Thank you, Mr. Willoughby. All right, Mr. McConaughey from River Horse Academy.
Yes, ma'am. I want to make sure y'all can hear me.
Yep, we got you. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. Well, good evening, board members, Dr. Thomas. First thing I want to say is Matthew was a very enthusiastic student, so this picture doesn't do him justice. In fact, the picture shows his determination The picture shows his determination in academics. So in order to talk about him, I definitely want to reference Mr. Lawson, the social studies teacher at RHA, who states Matthew is a model student in achieving excellence in academics at RHA. He has thrived in the virtual environment, completing 7 courses this semester. In fact, he is one of the most highly motivated students we have. He does what is expected of him and then goes beyond. He sets his daily goals, follows them through every single day. He is an absolute pleasure to have as a student and has certainly made excellence his habit during his time at RHA. So Matthew, congratulations. Thanks for all your hard work and Merry Christmas, buddy.
All right, way to go, Matthew. Thank you, Mr. McConaughey. And from Hutto High School, Mr. Christian.
All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so our student of the month is Rachel Lorfing. And I'm not sure if I see Rachel or her parents.
Hold on, Mr. Christian. Your voice is muffled.
Yeah, you probably need to get a little closer to your mic.
I'm going to be behind my computer if I get closer.
Finally makes you louder.
Okay.
Oh, I like this one.
Rachel Lorfing, and I just saw her pop up on the screen there. So Rachel's a senior at Hutto High School, and she's a great student for us. She was nominated actually by our auto tech teachers. She's been a computer science student, but she's also in our auto tech program. And
awesome.
One of our auto tech teachers wrote that she has worked extremely hard and deserves to be recognized for accomplishments. Not only does she excel in class, display leadership skills, and have a strong work ethic, but she is also a club officer. She helped produce our Hippo Auto Care commercial and has already completed and passed 5 of her ASE certificates. And ASE are Automotive Service Excellence certificates that our students took. So she earned 5 of those on the last go around. And using her computer science background along with what she knows in auto tech was create a commercial that was an excellent commercial. It was TV grade. We sent it out to the whole district, and hopefully it's going to generate a lot of business for our auto tech program. And Mr. Martinez said there's no student more deserving than Rachel to be student of the month. And that was something that I think was driven home for me again this last weekend when we were doing Orange Santa, and Rachel was manning the computer for the whole time that we were there, from when we got there at 9 o'clock until we sent everybody home about 4. So she's a great student. She's already signed up. She's ready to go to Texas Tech University. And I'm really looking forward to the great things she's going to do once she leaves us. Rachel Lorfing.
All right. Go, Miss Rachel. Thank you, Mr. Christian. Okay, Mrs. Radcliffe, we're going to move on to recognizing our teachers of the month. And first up is Crystal Hampton from Curley Elementary School. And I believe we have Mrs. Radcliffe online to tell us about Miss Hampton.
Oh, Miss Hampton. Miss Hampton is such a wonderful kindergarten teacher. This year, she volunteered to host a student teacher. She also volunteered to tutor first grade students after school, in addition to all the great things she does for her kindergarten students every day. We are so honored to have Miss Hampton on our team, our KES family. I'm so blessed. Miss Hampton deserves this and so much more. Congratulations, Miss Hampton. You really deserve this.
Okay, way to go, Mrs. Hampton. Is she on?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, there you are. You're very welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll get your plaque out to you tomorrow so you can take it home for Christmas.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Randy.
All right, this month, we actually have 2 teachers of the month. We had such an outstanding crew. I had to go ahead and select 2. So from Ray Elementary, we have Amanda Ramirez. Mrs. Campbell, are you there to tell us about Ms. Ramirez?
Yes, ma'am. Amanda, are you out there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay.
Awesome.
Okay, so I have a lot of things to say about Amanda, so bear with me. So Ms. Ramirez has been at Ray Elementary for 3 years, but in the short amount of time, she has made a huge impact on our campus. So she started as a third grade teacher who had a well-run classroom and students who adored her. However, this summer when our art teacher position opened up, she decided she was going to follow her dream and apply for the position, take the art certification test, and boy, are we lucky that she did. She did not have an easy start. Her classroom wasn't ready due to campus renovations until 4 days before students were scheduled to arrive on campus. And even then, she didn't have tables or chairs, but Amanda never complained, never had a bad attitude. She stayed positive. She asked questions to make things happen, and she put her art room together overnight. This is incredible considering she had never taught art before. Yes, so we are very pleased and grateful for what Ms. Ramirez has done as our new art teacher. After COVID, hopefully you all can come visit our campus because our hallways are now filled with beautiful, bright art that makes people smile every time they walk by. We love how decorated our school is now with authentic student work, and so does our students. We love to see them look for the art they created and show it off to their friends. But not only is Ms. Ramirez a phenomenal art teacher, she is also a very talented baton twirler and started a baton club at our school.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, ma'am, she's busy. The 4th and 5th grade girls love it, and she can't wait to expand her club. They have performed at many school events, including pep rallies, chili cook-off, and most recently, our Ray Elementary showcase after only having 3 practices. And of course, she's over our art club. And so there are many teachers at Ray Elementary that deserve this honor. But this month, we decided to recognize Mrs. Ramirez because she has gone above and beyond for our students and in making our campus better together.
Awesome. Way to go, Mr. Ramirez. Let you back in the building. She actually got a hippo kiss artwork. Have you seen it online? I think Todd put it out there, and it's probably displayed in that library area. We were out there delivering tacos the other day. She was talking to us about taking a field trip to the San Antonio Zoo so that the kids could actually meet the hippo that provided the art for Ray Elementary. So it's cool. Way to go, Ms. Ramirez. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now our support staff of the month from Howard Norman Elementary School. All right, Mrs. Abrams, tell us about Shay.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited today to celebrate Mrs. Shay Epps and introduce you to Mrs. Shay Epps. She is new to Hutto ISD this school year as our Howard Norman secretary. And I still recall some of the things on her application when she applied, and one of it was, how do you view the role? And, you know, she really saw herself as that backstage mom for the campus, and she has come through 100%. The staff describes her consistently, and I can agree wholeheartedly that she is so proactive. She's keeping me on my toes, thinking not 1 week ahead, but she'll tell me, Ms. Abrams, I'm 2 weeks ahead. So, you know, don't worry. And the other people describe her as being kind of like our campus fairy, that she, you know, makes things happen, and she's just sprinkling here and sprinkling joy there and making things happen all over the campus. And so we also are super fond of her to-do lists. She keeps them very neat and organized. And as I'm sitting and meeting with her, she loves to cross them off. And our staff fully appreciates the follow through on every task that she's given. You can give her a small idea and it's happened, and I'll say, I mentioned that yesterday, and it's done the next day. And I'm so excited, Shay, to recognize you tonight and to introduce you to Hippo Nation. We're so glad that you're at Howard Norman, and congratulations, the staff is seeing this as well at Howard Norman. So congratulations on being our staff of the month this month.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. I appreciate
Thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Epps or Ms. Shay. Okay, welcome. And our other support staff member of the month, Ms. Jennifer Jarma. Mr. Christian, you want to tell us about Nurse Jarma?
Absolutely. I wasn't sure if I saw her. Ms. Jarma, are you out there? Oh.
We can barely hear you for some reason.
All right, Ms. Jarma. You know, it's hard. I think it's fitting in this year of everything that's going on that, you know, our sports staff, the member of the month is Ms. Jarma. You know, this year, you know, we've had Ms. Jarma on our campus for several years. but I think I've worked more closely with her this year than ever before. And I think I've talked to her more than I've talked to some of my assistant principals. She has been indispensable to our campus, you know, working with everything that she has had to do to get our campus ready for the things that we've had to do this year. And being able to keep our students safe and help us with all the things we've been going through. You know, it's been a huge job for this situation, and Ms. Jarma has stepped up and done everything she could possibly do to help us out. And, you know, with that, you know, I think our staff, our students, and our campus are just in a much better place because of everything that Ms. Jarma has done. You know, without her, I shudder to think where we would be. So, Ms. Jarma, thank you so much. You've been indispensable to us.
All right, way to go. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jarma. Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Christian. Yes. Okay, Mr. Christian is still going to be on, but Mr. Christian, we're having a really hard time hearing you. I'm not sure if we hear everybody else.
I think my office is the Bermuda Triangle of technology.
What did he say?
He said his office is the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay, are y'all ready?
Hold on, Mr. Christian.
Hold on.
Try something. There's a train going by, so we're really not going to be able to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
A little bit. You just have to yell.
Okay, I'm using cafeteria voice right now. So,
No.
okay, so we are Hutto High School academic recognitions. We have a couple different things going on right now. And so our first one is for National Merit Scholarship, our commended student. And so every year we test all of our juniors and nationwide, you know, we have over 1.5 million students take the 11th grade PSAT, which is also the National Merit Scholarship qualifier. Is that coming through?
Yes.
Now we got you.
A little bit better, yes.
Okay, so of the 1.5 million students nationwide who take the National Merit Scholarship qualifying test at the 11th grade PSAT, they only recognize the top 3% as commended students. And so we've been lucky for the last several years to usually have one student who qualifies for this. And this year, our student is PJ Sweeney. He's a senior here at Hutto High School, and I think I see his mom right there. Here. And, you know, PJ's done an excellent job for us. He's a top 10 kid. I'm not sure, he can't be with us tonight because he had to go work, but his mom is here with us to recognize PJ for all of this stuff, all of the accomplishments he's had to get to this point. So great job to Mrs. Sweeney on getting PJ to this point.
All right, congratulations, Mrs.
All right, so for our next academic recognitions, we have our AP Scholar Program. And so this is administered by the College Board, and it's for our advanced placement exams. Every year, we have about 20 advanced placement exams that we get, classes that we give to our students, and they have to take an exam at the end of the year to be able to qualify for college credit. So at the end of the year, if they score a 3, 4, or 5 on their AP exams, they will have the opportunity to earn college credit from wherever that they decide to go to school. And so based on those scores, we have students who are identified by the College Board as AP scholars of one level or another. So to qualify to be an AP scholar, students have to score at least a 3, 4, or a 5 on at least 3 AP exams throughout their high school career. To be an AP honor scholar, students have to have a 3, 4, or 5 on at least 4 exams, and then have an average score of at least 3.25 on every exam that they have taken, all AP exams that they have taken. And to be an AP scholar with distinction, you have to have scores of 3, 4, 5 on at least 5 AP exams, and then have an average score of at least 3.5 across every test that you have taken. And so when you look at the graphic there, it shows, how our increases in our scholars have gone. And you'll see there one level that is not represented in 2020, and that's the National AP Scholar. And to have been a National AP Scholar, you had to have an average score of 4 on all of your AP exam, on every AP exam that you have taken, and have at least 4 on 8 AP tests. This is the first year in 2020 that distinction was discontinued by the College Board. So if you see nothing on there for 2020, it's not because we don't have students who don't qualify, but because the College Board has discontinued it. Now for 2020, this is an especially, we're proud of our students for what they've done this year, because last semester, our students jumped in there and took those tests even under not the most ideal circumstances that could possibly have happened. They were in, we were in virtual mode from spring break on, which is when we're, trying to get our students really up and ready to take those exams. And they had to learn how to take those exams in a brand new way, because we had to do online testing for AP for the first time. So that the fact that these guys made the progress that they made and they made the scores they made, I think shows to the quality of students that we have and how well they did. So on our first list of students, these are our class of 2020. So these are our seniors on the next slide, Dr. Sermani. These are our seniors who graduated last year who made AP Scholar. And it's Caitlin Brandstetter, Rowan Shana, Amanda DeHart, Kilson Ingalls, Marco Flores, Christian Franklin, Dallin Gordon, Kylie Holt, Natalie Jakubowski, Emma Jones, Ruth Lopez, Caroline Meadows, Josiah Pena, Jasmine Singleton, Sydney Smith, and Corelli Varela. And for our next slide, these are our honor scholars and our distinction scholars. So our honor scholars are Brian Bailey, Ashley Benitez, Elena Bustamante, Adrian Reese, Gabrielle Segura, and our distinction scholars are Matthew Bounds, Travis Boulding, Quinn Wynn, and Tori Chapey. So that was our senior class, our guys who walked the stage last year. So for our current senior class, which is our next slide, we have Cameron Averett, Owen Balser, Zane Boulding, Sebastian Calixtro, Isaac Christmas, Nat Craig, Cooper English, Ryan Garthwaite, Devin Gonzalez, Hunter Hares, Edmund Kopecki, Cassandra Lawson, Isabella Limones, Gabriel Lozano, David Oko, Addison Paulson, and Jamie Sackett. For our AP Honor Scholars and Distinction Scholars for our current seniors, we have Nadia Adams, Samantha Dorr, Reagan Manning, Maverick Race, Gavin Thurman, and our Distinction Scholars are Christian Garcia Guerrero, Grace Hosick, Benny Wynn, and Yasmin Taylor. Now, what is pretty outstanding is if you go to our next slide, we have some AP scholars who are currently juniors.
Oh, wow.
So we have 3, and these guys, I'm not even real sure how they got 3 tests done by the time they're through their sophomore year, but they did it. So it's Renan Kadavirathal, Jackson Mercer, and Damian Wilson.
Awesome.
So if you go to our next slide, you'll get to see a picture of all our students. I took a picture of them. Ah, man.
There they are.
There they are. They're silently judging as I take a picture with my iPhone 4. There.
That's fantastic, Mr. Christian.
Yeah, they're a great group of kids, and we're real fortunate. We're looking forward. The kids that we had who graduated the class of 2020. It's great to see them now and hear about all the great things they're doing in school right now. And for our students, it's great. We're going to get another chance, another round of testing on them to see if we can, get them some more college credit. And we're looking forward to all the great things they're going to be doing down the line.
That's pretty inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those accomplishments. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so we have no public comment tonight, is that correct? Okay. So we are going to move on to our communication and information items, and we'll start with the board president report. And we didn't have an article from the monthly Lone Star reading for this month because I thought you guys might want to share some input from our team building last week and or any committees that you attended. And I wanted to make sure, was Linda going to contact all the heads of the committees to share the, okay.
Yes, we let them know that Mr. Chavez and Ms. Turner had been added. As a matter of fact, Mr. Chavez attended one of our committee meetings last night too.
Okay. Okay, so do you want to start then?
Yes, you know, I attended the part of the meeting and the whole week. But we're talking about racial equality and, you know, making sure that everyone's in the same page with the struggles that are going on in the community and as a country. You know, we see a whole lot of things in our realm of people that we work with, that we live with, that we, you know, have in our communities and everywhere. So it's informative. It's a topic that needs to be brought to light.
So this was the ERI committee,
Yes,
correct?
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of good work coming out of that. So obviously chaired by Ms. Patterson, but she's doing a great job with that, and I'm excited to be part of that. I think it's something that when we can talk about issues that affect all of us and can get better communication between many different people, I think we can only get better as a human race.
And even just starting the conversations, that's step one, being willing to start the conversations. So thank you, Lisa, for the work you guys are doing.
Yeah.
I know that is going to be a long haul effort, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, it's a long haul.
So
does Mr. Chavez have the book yet, Ms. Patterson? Oh, very good.
Less with them today.
That's right.
Happy reading.
No, it is. It's a really good book. I'm enjoying it very much.
Morgan.
So I don't have a committee report to share out, but I did want to share that I did attend the very first Ray showcase. So Ray opened up their campus to the ELT, and I was invited as well, and one of the PTA parents, and gave us kind of an overview of some of the priorities on the campus. One of the things I really loved that I think really brings attention back to kind of the work that we do is we got to see their cheer squad do a pep rally kind of in the hallway, socially distanced, masks on, very responsibly. I got to see the twirling club and the music club, and we were able to see some art as we were going through the campus. So it was really nice to be able to kind of get back to the basics of what we're, you know, tasked to do and see the impact that we're able to make by partnering together and doing right by kids. So thank you so much to Ms. Campbell for being an absolutely gracious host.
Good. And then speaking of that, just a reminder that, you know, everybody probably has calendar invites for whatever campus that you were part of to attend their showcase when that comes up. Mr. Padilla?
I have no report this month, but I just want to thank the ELT, the staff, the board, the teachers, everyone who has contributed to a successful 2020. It's been a year, and I know everyone's looking forward to the break, and everyone's tired, and you know, there's a lot that we went through this year as a district, as a state, and as a community, and I'm personally looking forward to 2021, and I really just can't articulate the gratitude that I feel for everyone at this district who worked so hard to make our students successful, and you know, just overcame challenge after challenge and uncertainty after uncertainty every day to pull it off. It's just an unprecedented effort. So just want to wish everyone a very happy holiday season. Stay safe, and thank you for all you do. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you. Birthday boy.
I had no reports. We do have a bond oversight committee meeting scheduled for next month, so we'll have that. Team building was great. You know, it's always, like Edgar says, it's always good when we got a chance to just kind of share our feelings and stuff too. So enjoyed that very much. So.
And just like the ERI committee, equally as important, starting the conversations of how we're moving forward and
just like Philip said, I just enjoyed the talks that we had in our team building. And I've had an opportunity, or I have an opportunity to sit in on the Williamson County Health District meetings. And so we've had several. I was on one with Dr. Thomas this afternoon, just talking about the county and what we're going through and kind of what the plan is. So it was really informative.
Good. I was able to attend the Ag Science Planning Committee. I don't remember the official name of that, but I appreciated, as you guys know, we're in the process of building that new ag barn, which is desperately needed. And just to hear from the students that will potentially be using that facility, the parents who have an investment in the work that's going to happen out there. We're part of this group. Mr. Nielsen, sorry, Ms. Nielsen and Mr. Croft and Mr. Clark, and really having some good discussion about what that looks like and how that program, it's one of our CTE programs, so how that is going to look moving forward. It was good just to have so much input, especially from the people that will be using it. So, like everything else, when we get the chance to go out there, I hope that you guys will go out there and see potentially what our kids are going to be able to have available to them. Anything else from? Okay.
Can I give you all some breaking news from Chris? After 3 straight state championships by our robotics, they got second this year. Second.
No, we're gonna. Yay!
3 state championships in a row and now a second in the state.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's still a dynasty.
Yeah, it's still a
But
dynasty.
here's the question: did he capture that on his iPhone 4?
Oh, he has an iPhone 4.
That's what he said. The students were judging him when he was taking their pictures. Okay, Dr. Thomas, your report is up next.
Oh my gosh, I've got several back to back. All right, so bear with me. I hope you don't get tired of my voice. So celebrations, oh my goodness, where do we begin? I think the biggest celebration is that this is Friday Eve. And I think last Friday, we were thinking about this week and making sure that we made it. So we've got one more day, actually it's half a day. I think Mr. Badia mentioned it. Our staff is just incredible. The leadership on campuses, I know our principals are listening. We could not have a more solid group of leaders on the campuses, taking care of the teachers and taking care of their kids. Because when it's all said and done, that's our core business, right? Our campuses, our schools. And just so incredibly proud of the principals and everything they've managed from the summer through this first semester. I'm so glad we're closing out 2020. I know the beginning of 2021 is still questionable, but I know that we've got the right people in place to take care of our folks. I want to share a couple of little stories of just people going above and beyond the call of duty. There for a while, we were short crossing guards. So Henry took our grounds crew, our maintenance crew, and had them doing crossing guard duty. So we didn't do our mowing, we didn't do our maintenance upkeep, but we were keeping our kids safe, getting to school. Our school support department, I don't know how many times Dr. Sermani has deployed our school support people to cover classes. One particular Friday, we also had Cassie from communications. We had Caxie from the business office covering a class. We were just doing what it would take, what it was going to take. And even last night, we were talking about where we were going to need to deploy people this morning if we needed to. And no one hesitates. You pick up that phone and say, can you go and cover this class? Can you go and cover this department? And people just respond and they do it. I don't know where we couldn't have a better working staff. So just kudos. I can't even begin to name people specifically because I would leave someone out. But just know that Hippo Nation actually comes together when the need is there. And I really wish everyone a safe and happy holiday. Please get some rest after tomorrow afternoon. So other data points, our enrollment is holding steady at 8456. We continue to, I know enrollment has slowed down just a tad, obviously, because it's the end of December. We'll see what January brings about. I know that house closings continue, so we might get some additional kiddos come January. Turnover data, this is something that we monitor every month. The district-wide turnover data, the turnover rate is at 5.64. Maintenance and operations and food service right now have the highest turnover rate. Teacher turnover rate is at 1.4%, and Cottonwood Creek and FMS lead in those turnover rates. But just as a side note, both of those campuses have had some unusual circumstances with a few staff members, a couple of those health related. So I mentioned that just because it's part of the data that we look at, but I don't want you to think that there's anything specific or anything wrong with those campuses. There's just been some unusual circumstances there. I did want to point out, as far as turnover, in one of our strategies to affect this turnover is that Dr. Almquist in particular has focused attention on mentoring. We've always done mentoring, but now we have someone specifically in charge who's got more time and to address and really to address the needs of our first year teachers. So right now, this is a data point, 43 new first year teachers, 35 second year teachers, and all of them have one-to-one mentors, except 5 mentors are carrying 2 mentees just because of circumstances or subject area or grade levels. But again, just as another a side note on one of our key strategies to try to affect this turnover data.
So do we still have the contract employee that is handling mentors also, Ms. Rector?
No, she hasn't been on campus. Yeah.
We never initiated that contract with between the whole COVID thing and then.
When we started.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, so we just have the one-on-one mentoring, yep. As far as resignations and new hires, we had 2 professional resignations this month, 7 non-exempt resignations. We hired 7 new professionals this month, 11 non-exempt. And on a bright note, Jamie Morrow, yesterday she reported we are 1 bus driver away from being fully staffed. Woohoo! I know. There for a while, we were 8 and 10 drivers down. So at this rate, it's even better than last year, because I think last year we went the entire spring with about 6, 7 people down. So that was great news to hear yesterday. Todd and I are launching our Head Hippo Radio Hour in January. We're really excited about this new venture. It's our ongoing quest to connect with people in the community and really tell our stories. So our first guest for the Head Hippo Radio Hour is none other than Lisa Patterson. And we're going to be talking about the ERI committee and our work because, you know, we launched the ERI task force in the middle of COVID, and people really don't know what this task force is all about. And we're doing some really important work. It's slow, but it's important. Everything that we do is deliberate and intentional. Anyway, we're going to, Todd is going to orchestrate that interview. We're excited, and it's going to be recorded. So if you don't get a chance to tune in, you can always listen to it on the commute to work or on the way to wherever you're going. So excited about that. All right. So I've got 2 more notes, but I don't think they fall yet on the agenda, right?
I had a question about the
Yes, sir.
disadvantage. Has those numbers gone up?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Eco disadvantage students?
Oh,
Those numbers look like they've gone up.
I don't think so.
No?
Are you on the enrollment?
Yes.
The enrollment?
Yeah.
It should not, what's the number that you see on the screen? 40?
Well, compared to when.
Well, I think compared to when we closed last year was at 38, so it is higher.
So I was just curious.
Yeah, that's slightly higher, and that's also slightly higher than it was this time, month and a half ago. So those applications, people start getting them in, and I guess, as I know, have been working very hard with campuses to try to track down. We knew there were a lot of parents that were telling, I mean, they were literally telling us that I'm virtual, why would I turn in the form? They are eating
Yes.
We're trying to help them. You may come back and you're gonna want the form turned in instead of waiting.
Yeah.
So that's probably a reflection of that if we choose.
And we've talked about this before. If their job situation changes or whatever, they can refill a form out or whatever.
Correct.
All right, I think I've got the instructional plan update next, but before I go up there, I wanted to introduce one person that's in the room that the board may not know. We have Lynn Smith, who is administrative assistant to Dr. Sermani. She's assisting Linda tonight, but she's also in training as a backup. We always have a backup to Linda whenever we need reinforcement. So I just want to acknowledge Lynn and thank her for being here. So you're welcome. Next, the instructional one, yes, right.
Oh, I probably should have just stayed in my seat, right?
You want me to drive you?
I'm not gonna end up giving my back.
Do you want your back to the board? You want your back to the world?
Oh, I know.
Or do you just want to do it from your computer?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
let me just do it from my computer.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward.
We would not throw.
Kind of spot you that tape on the
Pardon me?
floor. This is where you stand.
That we would not throw things at you.
Yourself, Philip.
Yeah, well, Philip does have a birthday balloon.
Yes, he does. Okay, and let me bring it up here on my screen too, because all right, and for the ELT, I may ask you to chime in. Mr. Graham, if you can be ready to talk about the financial stuff. I know you're more familiar with that. All right, so it's been, as has been our practice since August, this is our instructional / safety plan update. The next slide, the first slide you'd see is the public health data. And we are definitely in the red zone. It has never, we have never been under worse conditions. And as we were discussing earlier, had we had this type of data back in August when we were making the decision to come back, we obviously would still be closed. But I want to remind the public and the board that what we have learned through the experience is that we have been able to mitigate the conditions on campus and been able to continue to have in-person instruction and maintain safety. This week has been an unusual week, and we've had at least 3 safety huddles to talk about certain departments, certain campuses. But again, I want to applaud the leadership on the campus, applaud Amy Huddleston in HR and Kendra Estes and all of our nurses for all of the work that they're doing behind the scenes that none of us see. So this is the latest data from the public health website. I didn't pick up today's, this is as of yesterday. So yesterday there were 314 new cases. The infection rate is at 35%, positivity rate at 8. I think what's alarming to me with this particular data piece is the percentage of ICU beds in use, and they're at 94%. There are 65 active cases in Hutto, the city of Hutto, not necessarily Hutto ISD. For the public who's listening, these are not cases in the district. These are cases in the city. Mr. Owens and Mr. Gideon were on the call with Williamson County this afternoon. And we really didn't talk a whole lot about the data because they had already discussed that on Tuesday, and obviously we're monitoring it. There was a great deal of discussion about vaccines and when they were coming. Surprisingly, our Williamson County Public Health Office, they don't have a whole lot to do with the vaccine distribution right now. And if you are watching, if you get the updates, help me, Todd, what is that publication that we get?
The EduLedge?
No, not the EduLedge, the community impact. Those,
The alert.
yes, Yes, the community impact news headlines. There were a couple of stories just this week about how Austin ISD teachers were going to be first in line to get vaccines. And what our public health officials said, that is just rumor, that none of that has been confirmed. Obviously, if Austin ISD teachers were going to have access to vaccines, so would we. So that has not been confirmed. There is, and we're going to talk about it, it's in the consent agenda, a resolution asking our legislators to advocate for school teachers and school employees to be pushed up to the front of the line to be part of that for those first groups of people that receive the vaccines. But right now, the distribution of vaccines, as you've heard, is primarily for healthcare workers, and the target populations are vulnerable populations in nursing homes. Okay, a reminder about the next slide, Dr. Sermani, thank you. The trigger points for closure, we have not changed this. For the first time since we've been in operation this semester, we actually applied the 10% infection rate in a classroom, campus, or district facility by building. So on Tuesday, we did send our entire maintenance crew home, much to their displeasure, including the lead of that group, Mr. Gideon. But we reached that 10% threshold, and we said, all right, folks, this is what our safety measures call for. This is the safest thing to do. We need to send these folks home. Now, we did send them home with the whole caveat that if there's an emergency, if we have a pipe that breaks or we have an emergency where we need you on campus, we will bring you and make sure that you don't have contact with anyone in the building, but you can take care of our facilities. And so far we've made it 2 days and we've been good. I know that Mr. Graham and Mr. Robinson had their tool belts ready. They brought them and they were ready to be deployed in case they needed to go and fix something. And even Robert offered to do his own mechanic. He does mechanic work.
Very busy.
I think they call when they need instructions.
But in all seriousness, this has been a very difficult week for quarantines and exposures. Not so much the positive cases, but just the web and how positive cases affect families and teachers, and of course our staff across the district. We still do. One of the reasons we have those safety huddles is that in addition to the 10% infection rate, which is clear, straight facts, straight data, it's black and white, there's also unusual circumstances. And one of the safety huddles we had this week was to talk about the people who were affected and how was it on campus, was it at home, what could we have done better, were our safety protocols in place? So just know all of that takes place in those safety discussions. One of the main decision points that we make is, are we able to successfully operate a campus or a department or a facility? And if we can't, then of course we bring out all the forces that we can. But as far as closing a campus, making that call that a particular campus cannot be open, it would be because there's just so many people affected that we can't serve our children properly. And we have not been at that juncture. Instructional plan updates, Dr. Sermani, you want to hit some of those?
Not a whole lot to update you on. Continuing to provide subs. Principals are accessing asynchronous time to provide more time for teachers as they need it. We did have our first meeting to discuss what a virtual setting might look like in 21-22 for the next school year and what kind of changes we might make to that. And then finally, just so you know, we did move. There are more students at the elementary level moving to in-person than are currently. That necessitated us to move some teachers around. And so some teachers are coming to in-person and combine some classes.
in different places to make sure we stay under
under the 22-1. So that's that movement happening
that was inevitable, I guess.
Are there virtual classes in every single grade represented?
Yes. And I think starting in January will be the first time there are some campuses that do not have a virtual class at a particular grade level. We've gotten to the point on some campuses that the virtual sections have gotten to like 9 kids. And it just makes more sense for us to eliminate virtual learning, take those 9 kids and move them to another campus at some grade levels. So it's been slowly shrinking that way. And I'm really talking kinder first, second, third, fourth and fifth numbers still remain pretty big virtual wise.
Right, human resources, this is all about straight data. So currently have 48 folks that are on alternative work assignments. As far as cases, this is as of today. So Amy Huddleston updated this. Active, probable, confirmed cases, 15. Symptoms, people who are in isolation because of symptoms, 14. Exposed or quarantined, 40. Safety plan exclusions, those are the folks from maintenance. That's a new bullet that we added this time around, is at 21. And then resignations due to illness or COVID concerns were at 13.
And is that 13 year to date?
Yes, yeah, not 13 new ones, yes, yeah. Ms. Patterson, is there anything you want to add on the human resources side?
I was just going to say, we put this also in the weekly report on Friday so that you can continue to see the updates. And I was actually just comparing what I'm going to drop into tomorrow's weekly report, just to make sure there was any changes since we updated this around noon today. So we'll constantly have access to where we are.
Mr. Graham, you want to talk about finances?
Yeah, the only change on there, well, obviously we have additional expenses that we incur every month, but we did receive $772,000 from CRF LEA grant, and that was for purchases prior to May 21st of this year. So we will also apply for grant funding for purchases after that. So we're still waiting for that. But that was a pretty good chunk of funds that we got in, and I'm happy to get it.
Is there plenty of money out there still to be get, or is it kind of drying up?
Yeah, if you look on the second slide, we still have 642 that we've applied for, but there are other grants that we still will need to apply for as we go forward.
So from what I hear, Texas still has quite a bit of CARES fund, right?
Right.
I mean, is that just it hasn't been applied for, or they haven't figured out how to disperse it?
Yeah, they're basically looking at how to allot it.
Okay.
Our expenses still are way over what money is coming in. Yeah.
For the CARES, for the COVID.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, COVID-related expenses, yeah.
Is the biggest expense the supplies?
Correct, PPE.
Yeah.
Basically, because it's just ongoing.
Mm-hmm. And we've been very clear with our teachers, especially our campuses. If you need it in order to keep the classroom safe, you ask for it. These are not items that are being rationed or counted or being held back. So we want to make sure that that's one of the least things that people have to worry about. All right, thank you, Mr. Graham. Mr. Gideon, you want to talk about operations?
I can. Good evening, Board, Madam President, Dr. Thomas. What's on here is mainly focused on our contingencies for the maintenance team kind of not being able to support the campuses for the rest of the semester. But we've got some good contingencies in place. We've communicated with all of our stakeholders. We can obviously roll some of our subcontractors to assist if we can't come in person because of the exclusion practices, but we're we're in good shape. Going to give a shout out to Peter and Maria. Their custodial teams are kind of doing double duty for us right now. They're helping to monitor our building systems while they continue to execute the COVID safety protocols in addition to their normal duties.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Gideon. The very last slide. As of right now, obviously, we just want to make it through tomorrow. We're not recommending closure of the school district or a campus at this time. Principals continue to have flexibility with offering internal planning days or parts of days, in addition to the 3 days that we gave them on the calendar. Internal flexibility is still provided to our campus leaders. We sent out some holiday COVID protocols to our parents and our staff. We'll send out another reminder on Sunday, January the 3rd. Here's a big one for us, our watch areas over the holidays. Obviously, we're going to be on high alert. We're really going to use that Monday and Tuesday, January 4th, January 5th, to assess what has happened over the holidays and how ready we are to have children back in the building on Wednesday, January the 6th. We'll also look at the data and what's happening with the infection rates. The infection rates this week obviously concern us. I think some of our public health officials said, and we've said this before, people are weary, people are letting their guard down. They're not acting responsibly. The biggest concern over the holidays, that we know that the number one spreader is gathering with people that you're, including family, that you're normally not around. And so that's a huge concern for us as families get together over the holidays and what that's going to mean for the spread. Because we've already seen the effect of the Thanksgiving holiday, and that was 1 week. Imagine what 2 weeks are going to do. So we're not opposed, obviously, to having to close if we need to, but we know our community depends on us, and we know that the very best place for our kids is in our buildings where we can keep them safe. But we also know that we have to act responsibly. So that's our plan for returning in January.
Edgar usually does this part for me, but I just want to say thank you. Because the teachers, from the administration to the maintenance people, everybody has just, it's, let's face it, it's less than ideal conditions, and teachers are, it's a moving target. It's changing constantly. Administration staff going over and subbing, just everybody has just done what's best for our kids. And I for one, and I think everybody here appreciates that wholeheartedly.
Our teachers are our frontline people, and yes, they're the ones carrying the load, very much so. Thank you.
The next thing is the communications audit report.
Okay, so just a few highlights on the communications audit report. I sent that copy to you, so I hope you've had a chance to review it. And obviously it's an audit report. It's a little bit lengthy, but I think there's some fabulous information in it. Just to go over a few highlights, I think it's important to recognize that Brad Domatrovich, that's a mouthful for me, really commended our communications staff, our 2-member communications staff, for doing such a fabulous job. We already have many of the initiatives and many of the practices that are carried out by larger districts we have in place. I think what Brad shared with me was just the positivity of all of the people that he interviewed, that he interacted with, from all the parents and the staff, and how happy and pleased they were with our efforts to communicate. Obviously, they offered lots of suggestions for improvements, and that's what we wanted to take away. But overall, I think we should be proud of the positive acknowledgement by everyone who participated. So I just want to go over a few of the highlights. Obviously, the major recommendation is to develop a formal communications plan. And so I'm going to invite a member of the board, if y'all would like to sit in, be a part of writing that plan. Right now, the members of that plan are obviously Todd and Cassie Balderas and me for now. We haven't, Todd and I really, this came out this week, but we really have not had a chance to sit down and actually even go through the audit together. But we do have an ambitious timeline. We at least want to be able to bring you a good solid draft by the February board meeting, and then get some feedback, and then be able to adopt a formal one here in the next 2 to 3 months. So think about that. If any of you are interested in being a part of that writing team with us, or even being a reviewer, and you don't have to come to all of the meetings, but being a part of that, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. So from the executive summary that Brad provided to me, just some of the highlights on the recommendations when writing the plan. He talked about having a promotional calendar and a social media calendar. And obviously, Todd and Cassie already have a timeline, a calendar that they follow, but just adding some more meat to it, and really gave some suggestions on some things that we could include. One of the ones that I kind of really hung on to is developing a did you know data bank. So he says you should have this data bank of, did you know this about Hutto ISD? So when there's lulls in activity or lulls in the year, that we could send out those tidbits that kind of tell our story. Did you know that we are the only hippos in the entire United States? Did you know that this particular campus is studying oceans this week, or whatever it may be? But I just, did you know type of data bank. One of the other big nuggets for me, and this was primarily from the parents, and Todd and I actually tried to do this with the leadership team about 1.5 years ago. And everybody is really particular about the communication mode and the communication tools that they use, because once you get familiar with a tool, that's the one that's the one you're comfortable with, and change is hard. But he did say that we needed to examine all the communication tools that we're using. Parents who have children in elementary, middle, and high school, especially right now with COVID, they're having to go through 3 different types of communication tools and apps that they've got to use. That may be convenient for us as the educators. It's not convenient to parents. And if we want parents to be involved, we need to make it easier for them too. So we're going to have to bring all of the heads together again, and we may have to make some decisions and some non-negotiables about, this is the media platform that we're going to use, and everyone has to at least use this tool, so that we in turn can say to parents, this is our main communication platform for X, Y, and Z, and that's what you're going to be able to use. So again, a big nugget there for me too. As far as the communication email option for community members, because we had a focus group just of community who don't have children in the schools, but they want to know about what's happening in the schools. So we don't know how we're going to navigate that. We kind of, Todd and I kind of started talking about that in a little sidebar conversation, but he did recommend that we should consider adding the option for community members who can receive email information and news about the district. So, because not all community members are on social media, or they're not all going to go to the website. If you're not a parent, you're not going to access that website. So I'll stop there, because those are just some of the big nuggets on recommendations.
Thank you. And thank you, Todd, for being willing to go through this with us and help. It looked like some great information.
Yes,
so.
yeah, he did give some great nuggets. Yeah.
Okay. You have been going for a long time. The last thing is, around this time of year, we always, especially since there's the legislative session coming up, as a district, we kind of put our priorities together, what we like to send to our representatives. So And then Morgan brought up a good point. At one point, we did this with the city as well. So we may consider if they have anything, putting our heads together about that.
That's a good idea when we have that joint meeting, since obviously we're not going to be able to do our Hutto Day at the Capitol like we have in the past because they're restricting visitors. But anyhow, so what you have in your folder in the executive leadership team, you should also have a copy of this. These are the suggestions on messaging for school board members on legislator outreach. And so these were taken directly from the Fast Growth Coalition, of which we are members. And so it broke it down into funding issues and into some broader issues. So I didn't add anything more to that. I kind of wanted, I'm bringing this to the table as a starting point of whether we want to adopt these legislative priorities so that we have talking points, so that if Representative Talarico or Senator Shortner reaches out to us, or if we happen to be talking to people who are going to influence legislation, that we all have a common template about, oh yeah, this is what we agreed as a school district we were going to endorse or prioritize. And I'm not going to read the whole document to you, but I wanted you to have, it's in your shared Google folder. I know it's hard to get into all of these documents. Sometimes it's easy if you just have a sheet of paper, something you can refer to. So if you wanted to take a couple of minutes now to review them, or if you want to take them with you and then we come back and discuss them in January.
I think that's a good idea. I know that Terrence and I don't know if, were you on the last CTSB?
I was not on the call.
They had every representative from
all of Central Texas.
Yeah, on there talking about this as well. So were you on the call, Morgan?
I was not, no. I read the notes though.
So maybe we can combine what there was some good information shared out of that too. We can look and combine. If that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
What is the timeline, like when we have to have our final list together?
I think since we have, I hate to add this, we're meeting the second week in January to do the superintendent evaluation, but I think we could add this to the agenda and have this part of what we decide on that day, because by that time we need to have something in hand. The legislator is going to go into session, and I think we have an opportunity to solidify.
We'll have already started, right, at that point?
Our second.
Technically, yeah, but they don't get into committee until February, first week of February.
But let's face it, they're already drafting legislation right now.
They are. And one of these at the bottom, remember this, I picked this up a couple of weeks ago. So for example, the very first bullet under broader topics are commitment to state assessments for diagnostic purposes. The STAR has already been, the accountability has already been suspended for of 21. So part of this has already been accomplished.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
The one that really caught my attention here and is the third bullet on the bottom. While well-intentioned, the rush to establish a statewide home learning system. What is that about? What are they trying to do there?
So, of the 1,200 school districts in the state of Texas, more than half of them have less than 500 kids. So many of these school districts don't have the Dr. Sermanis and the Meredith Broadys and Melissas of the world, right, that can, or the Stephanie Ordens who can come together and help teachers with curriculum. So when COVID occurred, all of these smaller school districts really needed assistance with a virtual learning platform. So the state contracted with several providers, and they used federal money to contract with these providers to provide resources.
Private ed tech?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, private ed tech. So for example, the learning platform that we use is Canvas. Mm-hmm. We had already jumped ahead and purchased Canvas for our school district, but the state purchased Schoology, Well, and they said, we'll reimburse you, we'll cover the cost if you go on to Schoology. But if you choose anything else, so sorry, so sad, you're gonna have to pay for that. So federal funding was used to pay for a resource like that for many of the school districts who waited to the last minute or who didn't have any other option, and their expense was covered, but we were just out.
So in 2020, there were districts in Texas that did not have an LMS in place?
There were districts going into August who weren't sure how they were going to do virtual learning.
Okay.
So this was the state's answer. And I don't want to sound critical
to me.
School districts that are 216 enrollment.
Right.
On that campus that did.
That was the other side. I was gonna say, some districts don't have the capacity to be ready, but districts just twiddled their thumbs, honestly. They called me, literally said, can we just take your plan?
I mean, you've been around the state, you know, there's so many of the little bitty ones that just.
They don't have the resources. So I think the state was trying to do the right thing in taking care of school districts who did not have the resources, who needed some assistance. And even some of your larger ones bought into some of these learning systems, but they were able to then dip into these CARES funds. We were one of those that, in our effort to take the initiative and jump out there and be prepared, we're ending up putting the bill for
They
that.
since came back and said that they would reimburse us, right?
For certain things. So for the operation connectivity, there are some expenses that we're going to be able to reclaim, but not all of them. Do you know the ins and outs of that?
Now,
Yeah.
well, as far as, like I said, on that previous slide, what we are qualified, we have been applied for, what we qualify for.
I see.
Also, I think that, there's lots of different ways to look at that particular situation. There are some districts who did not, like over spring break, for example, buy hotspots and things like that. The state did end up providing some, but it took months and months and months to get them. So while perhaps we didn't benefit from that pool of funding, I think there's probably you could weigh the costs of that if we were already instructing kids and much further along.
And I think you bring up an extremely valid point. While we're all concerned about the learning gaps that our kids are going to experience, our kids are ahead of the game in many respects compared to other school districts, because there were kids who were still not learning well into October, still didn't have what they needed to access instruction.
I think the initial date that we issued those laptops to start the semester, there were a lot of kids in line and a lot of kids excited about getting them too. They knew it was going to be different, and we took advantage of that opportunity, and I think our kids have done better for that.
So any other questions about the?
I don't want to beat a dead horse. I'm curious about why FGSC, outside of the obvious, if we were one of those school districts, we would have taken those dollars in a heartbeat, right? If we needed the resource, why is one of the talking points that we, although well-intentioned, are not okay with CARES Act going to EdTech in order to take care of an immediate concern for other students in the state of Texas? I'm not sure why that is to me, that seems like it's a relic of public ed's concern about EdTech in the first place, instead of actually a concern about what happened with the purchases of the LMS. Makes sense? So
I think it has to do with federal dollars being used to subsidize private vendors.
The other thing too is that, we've been talking about local control, and that's like taking local control away from us, because the state's dictating, well, this is what we want you to use, and we'll pay for it. But if you want to do something else, well, what you're really telling me is that I want to control what you do in your district.
I think it's a choice. I mean, you're still being given a choice and there's no mandate that you have to go with that.
There's a pay there. You go with me, I'll pay for it, but if you decide to go with something else, well, you use your own money.
And I imagine it was done hastily and, without, as they say, without oversight, but I worry about that caveat at the beginning. To me, it tells me everything. While well-intentioned, well, that's exactly what it was. I mean, and I know this is just one bullet on the whole sheet.
You don't have to, we can scratch that off. We don't.
Yeah, I just,
If this is.
and that's,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's just me personally. I think that they did their best to help kids that were in need.
I would agree. Like I was telling you, the vast majority of the districts had no idea how they were going to approach learning in August.
It sounds like a good homework assignment for all of us is to, if that's something that we really want to dig into. Perhaps Edgar, for example, if you have any context with the FGSC, perhaps there's some context that's not in here that you could research and bring back to us in January and we can have a conversation about it. Just so that we're not missing something.
And I can bring back more information, but I can tell you, and I think we're all aware of this whole phenomenon. It's not a secret to public ed or to board trustees, which is the prevalence, the growing prevalence of ed tech and private resources and there's all kinds of things that are out there. Privatization of public education is a huge national concern and state and local concern. I think that we're all familiar with. And what I worry about is that this particular bullet seems to me that it's more concerned about that national discourse and that particular narrative on that issue than it is about actually providing a bunch of kids an LMS that they didn't have. That's all I'm saying. So, I think it is worth a little additional scrutiny. I'm happy to, provide some more information on that.
I think we all should do that too, come back in January.
Because if we were thrall, this bullet wouldn't be in there for us. I promise you that. Right? I mean, it's just.
Is Thrall in the South Grove district?
I don't think so.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If we were thrall.
They wouldn't even have access to this.
What I mean is if we were thrall, we wouldn't have an issue with what happened.
If you were a small district that was fast growth, you would be complaining about this problem.
If I was a small district that benefited from what happened there, I wouldn't complain.
But I didn't read this to where we were complaining about what happened.
No.
I think we just want equal treatment to where ours is paid for too.
Yeah.
Don't pay for just theirs, pay for.
Because it's like Terrence was saying, not
Like
you
you take
have to ultimatum.
Right.
Either use our stuff or.
Right.
But I know when you read that first, while well-intentioned, it kind of lets you know there's a but there.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a legislative, piece, I mean, it's a, scroll up here.
Well, and we all have to be.
Legislator outreach. I mean, it's, there's a specific audience for it and we all know that. So, nothing malicious there, nothing that I'll lose any sleep over. I just I would recommend we dig a little deeper on that particular point.
Yep, on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Because again, this is just a starting point. You don't have to take all of them or any of them. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yay.
Sorry.
Dr. Serponi, you are next.
I was going to just bring up the CTE, not the.
Cool.
Right, the information, yeah, right.
And Travis is back there. There he is.
There he is.
Man.
Right on cue.
I was watching.
I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be now too either. School board, we were asked to give a quick update on CTE and Ms. Chavez, since you haven't seen this, we got some extra information on there in case you have questions or wonderings about it. My intention is not to do a presentation so much as I'll go over some of the details of CTE that anyone who needs to remember it.
then I'm going to flip, and there's only a couple of things I'm going to highlight. And then as I'm flipping through, though, if there are places you want me to stop and you want to talk about, just let me know, and we're here to talk. Mr. Christian is also online, also, since a lot of this involves the high school as well, in case we need him. So CT, Career and Technical Education, it is involving their district improvement plan and strategic plan for making sure all students are college, career, and military ready. Oh, wow, this is really on just that screen. I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sharing it, that's why. Hold on a second. No, our studio audience is not able to see it.
Even Dr. Sermani can share his screen.
Even.
That's why it's not on screen. All right. So first up, just some quick CTE factoids for you, some updated stats, in case you're wondering. IBCs, by the way, are industry-based certifications, and just so you know, they do count towards our accountability process. And so every student who gets one of those is counted as career ready by the state.
8:37. I don't know how I did that.
7 though. This is our listing of our programs of study. You see, we've got quite a few of them. These names change periodically. And so if you see something that's changed its name, these are official program of study names.
So we have the teaching, and is that like, what's the name of that?
These are the
Teaching and training.
You're talking about Ready, Set, Teach?
Yeah.
Yeah, that went away and it changed to teaching and training.
Oh, okay.
So as he said about the names changing on occasion.
That's.
These are your future teachers. That's the part we added. Some of them are becoming instructional aides and can get that. Some of them can work at Little Hippos. I want to say Dr. Onquist said they hired one already from last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Who have got their aide certificate.
Mhm.
We are now going to be producing student teachers to go into teaching schools as well.
What does healthcare therapeutic?
So the health science ones, the way TEA wrote them, you can get a lot of the same ones with the same combination of classes.
Right.
So that's going to be more of our medical assistant and
Okay.
phlebotomy tech.
Whereas medical therapy be more like therapy, occupational.
The way we arranged this is we just took essentially the items that are most closely aligned to CT out of the district improvement plan, and we just gave quick updates based on all of them. This is the first year that we pushed CTE courses officially down to the middle school level. The state changed the rules and said we could do it, so we did. And so we do get weighted funding for those classes, and this is just a listing of those classes. The district improvement plan is because we use federal Perkins dollars to pay for it, and so it's required to be in there, which is why that's not really much of a SMART goal measurable, but that does allow us to use Perkins federal funds to help fund those programs.
So we're ready to implement those in the middle school 20, right now.
We have done.
Okay.
Yes, we actually have to put it in the dip moving this school year in order to use the funds this school year for implementation. Yes, students are in these classes right now. And manufacturing engineering technology, that's better known on the campuses as robotics.
Okay.
So that's the official title. The second one is, it's a little covered up there, but this is about making sure that this information gets out to the general public and to students. And we have a number of different things going on, and we just took a screenshot of the counselors and some parents on there talking about some of our advanced academics, but also involved in this was talking about the different CTE pathways available to students. And this was in particular for 8th and 9th graders. And then of course, we have a couple of things planned for later in the school year as well.
Okay, so for the REACH program, they have to have geometry by when they get into their freshman year?
No, you have to, so you need to have to be college ready before you start the REACH program, which means usually what we have been doing is you do algebra your 8th grade year, and you geometry your freshman year. However, actually, if you really know curriculum, you don't actually have to do it that way.
And so one of the things that if you actually watch this presentation, we were reaching out to eighth grade parents whose child, for whatever reason, is not in algebra, and explaining to them how they can get back on track to do the REACH program. And there are a couple of different ways of doing that. Algebra and geometry, the way the curriculum is laid out in Texas, you could actually do geometry before you do algebra and be just fine. Or vice versa. We just traditionally do algebra, geometry. In fact, you can do them both at the exact same time if you can handle it and do them both your freshman year. So those are some of the options we want to make sure that parents are aware of. If your child came from Louisiana and you didn't have the option to get on an advanced math track, and REACH sounds like a great idea for you. So we need to find a way to on-ramp you. And so that's one of the things. And we also have some other ideas like summer school for credit. You could use accelerated instruction to get a student through a course quickly if they're capable. Really, it's kind of a case-by-case basis. But this was our first beginning of reaching out to those parents to do that for the first time.
So you say reaching out to parents. So like for the middle school CTE programs, is that just for 7th and 8th grade, or is it 6th, 7th, and 8th that can start down that path?
I believe official CTE is 7th and 8th.
Okay.
Although there is a 6th grade version of the engineering class. I don't know what we call it. It's basically 6th grade robotics.
And so I'm assuming parent presentation and all that kind of stuff will hit the 6th graders before they go into 7th to let them know
so
the opportunities are there.
Currently, and I know Jen's out there, if I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but I think the middle school counselors are actually meeting with every single middle schooler starting this month and into January probably.
Yes, and actually, so Travis came and presented at our counseling meeting, K-12, because we want those elementary students to know what they're going to have available to them when they reach middle school. And so that's part of the information that we share with elementary parents as they're transitioning from 5th to 6th grade is their CTE options. And so they'll hear that information then and hear it again when they're in middle school, and hopefully feel confident in their choices.
We also have some really neat new CTE posters to help with the pathways. Those are still in kind of discussion mode on how best to present those. So I don't have them here to you because they're not 100% done, but we're already using them for the counselors internally to help them guide and remember how the course sequencing goes so they can make sure they're right on the spot when they're guiding families, talking about multiple years into the future. Hopefully we'll have those for external use at the end of January, February-ish. Another one on here, we're working to increase some of the dual enrollment and certification pathways, and this is some of the work. I do know we have an update on those numbers because we're actually more than 46. So 98 was last year. And of course, a lot of the tests got cut off. So IBCs require a certification test to be passed. So that number was way down than what we're used to. This year, we're more than 46. We're 78. We're at 78 now. So you can see how much further we are along now than we were last year. And even our goal is 175 certification, our students with certifications. Students with certifications or certifications? Certificates this year, but we're already at 78. So we're well on our way. We've got 3 targets for dual enrollment, which we're working with TSDC on. For the robotics one, we did hear back from TSDC on the robotics. We got some problems with the sequencing. We've got to work out with the college. And so that's I think in my Friday report, but we haven't heard back from them. So we're trying to reach out and see what we can do about the sequencing. We heard about this today. Welding, it's really dependent on how we can work students' schedules so they can get into the lab portion of that. But this is actually connected to what I mentioned earlier about the virtual academies and schools. If we can access virtual instruction, the state lets us, scheduling is less of a problem for those big blocks of classes where a kid needs to go over to the lab over there. We've got some new tools we can use. And then finally, cybersecurity. We are building that course to get certifications for next year. Mr. Burns is going to take that on. He has a master plan with it. We are waiting for TSTC to hear more information on the sequencing of the course and the length of the course before we can add the dual enrollment component to it. So that's where we are on dual enrollment at the moment. See.
This is one that was actually left over from a year ago. The whole plan got canceled because of COVID. But this idea is something we've been wanting to do is eighth grade students that are struggling academically and end up in summer school. We want to actually make CTE a focal point of their summer school experience. So to that end, last year was the first time we moved the eighth grade summer school to the high school. We were going to have them have access, but we ended up not even having that part of the summer school. This year, our plan is to have it over there. A CTE teachers come up, work with the kids, expose them to different CTE pathways. And if a kid says, you know what, I want to change my pathway right now, all the counselors are on duty. So just pull the grid, change their schedule right then and there, boom, we're done. So instead of just math and reading, we're thinking we'll have the CTE component as well. And that's kind of the idea for that. This is part of that branding I was telling you about, those new posters and materials that we're working on. I know we're working on, we just got back our first round of the branding that we're looking for. We're trying to find a branding that would be recognizable for all CT courses, and then each different pathway would have their own kind of individual branding. So we've seen the first 3 samples. We've developed some feedback from all the CT teachers, and we're gonna send it back. We're gonna see what they come up with for the second round. We're gonna keep going back and forth with that. There's a cool little video if you haven't seen the Hippo Auto Care video, if you want to see information about that. I won't play it here unless you want me to, but the video, just kind of a nice lit production and advertisement of what the auto kids can do for you.
Let's play it. Do y'all mind?
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
It's really cool. We got to see it when we did the high school showcase with Mr. Christian, but.
Yes, it is me. Somebody look at my password.
Luffy.
Doesn't matter if you saw it.
Even Robert can enter in a password.
Password is password.
Oh, it's star.
1, 2, 3, 4, Robert.
2, 3, 4.
It's password.
Lonnie and Dr. Thomas, this is the video that our student created.
We got to turn him.
Christian saying something.
This is the video that our student created.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Thank you, Travis. I was about to go crazy. I know I didn't. Let me get the volume on there.
I love that logo.
But the volume is just coming out of this one.
I think there's something about these speakers. Okay, hold on.
Another screen.
Our school, and obviously cybersecurity to our school.
Welding is not, but schools can offer welding in 2 different ways, the ag mechanics route or the manufacturing route. Most school districts offer it in the ag mechanics route. To offer it dual enrollment with TSTC, it would need to be the manufacturing welding route. So it's technically new courses, but it's not new content.
What career path is the most popular?
Health science.
Health science.
Also got multiple pathways too.
Right, just like,
But it is popular.
Mm-hmm.
well, I appreciate it because there's two things I always get asked from citizens is, do we teach personal finance? So I saw the dollar and cents class that you're doing in the middle school. And that I've always believed that the conversation, sometimes they look at us and say, why don't we push other type of careers that are just not traditional for your colleges? And I always say that we do, but it doesn't really start with us. It starts with a conversation at the dining room table, with parents. And I think as we hit the kids earlier in 6th, 7th grade, I think those conversations can happen.
But I applaud you for thinking out of the box because you're bringing in an idea of giving these information to these 8th graders that possibly are going to be taking summer school. And you'd be amazed at how much of a direction or change this will make by them opening their eyes to a new idea. Great idea for you guys to bring this out.
Well, and we've got a rock star teacher in the cybersecurity world as well. We're trying to work with TSTC. A couple of doors have been closed there, but we're going to proceed with our program and at least getting the kids through industry-based certifications. And it just has to do with core sequencing and what TSTC requires. But we can't afford to wait because we've got a teacher that is just chomping at the bit to get it done. And he's got the kids who follow him too.
I think that's key. And that it, to me, is a good indication of why the health sciences program is so good, because those kids, the teachers have
They
really
love their teachers. Yes, they do.
One thing that's not on here, because it actually falls with Lisa Patterson and I work with Dr. Almquist on it, is Travis and I just met for the second time with the CT teachers talking about what is a incentive, incentive for performance look like in the CTE world. And, one of those things that we're talking about is how many kids are you retaining within your program? In other words, if the teacher if I don't like my teacher, I'm never going to get past the first class of the sequence. I'm just going to eject. And so we're trying to make it a thing where part of your performance pay is based on, are you keeping kids all the way through because you're really working with them and want them and you're trying your best to keep them into that program.
and they're going to in turn get the certificates and.
Exactly. And then in turn, you have to show that they're getting certificates at the tail end. Because a lot of times you have a teacher at the tail end, you have a teacher at the beginning. And we're trying to make it so that the two of them work together as a team and you create a system that ensures that kids are going throughout on that pipeline. Because if we're going to put the kid in the CTE world, it's already done in freshman and sophomore year, is where I've finished seeing where the kids are going off.
What are your thoughts about how many certifications will the kid be able to accomplish in this format? Is it 1 or is it 2?
Yeah, it really depends on which pathway they're on. There are some where the end of the road, so to speak, only has 1 certification. There are others like, if you go all the way up through, what did the student in Autotech? We had our first student who got all 10 certifications in Autotech. So each of those are a different aspect of that auto technology. So it really depends on your pathway. Our goals are all based on students having at least 1 walk out the door. If you have 1, you got something you can walk into an employer saying, I can work now.
And each of those is its own IBC, right, Travis?
Automotive. Okay.
So how do you balance the line of letting kids try what they want versus, we want to get you through to get you a certificate? Because, high school should be because a lot of them don't know 9th grade what they want to do, right?
And one of the things that I say it every single time, I'm not going to stop a child from jumping from 1 to 1. I always use my daughter as an example. She got into health sciences. First thing she saw blood, she said, I never want to go another class. She never completed a full sequence because she jumped, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so that's part of just growing up, and that's fine. And so I don't want everyone to ever think that they're trapped. I don't want the message to ever get to parents that once my child's in, they're in. All we're saying is, look, if this is something you're interested in, and you're looking for a work skill, or you're looking to have this certificate at the end, yes, this is what you're going to have to do to get to it. On the other hand, you got a fine arts person who the certificate doesn't mean anything because they're going to go to Juilliard. they can hop through all four because they don't need that. That's not their real life's path.
And I was getting ready to ask that question. I guess there's not anything in the fine arts realm that you could create a career path.
Not so much. There are beginning to be a couple of things, on the technical side and the business side.
I mean, I look at the, what is it, the digital multimedia arts and design and audio video, and I kind of picture that more being in that kind of realm, but.
It is, if you're a straight theater or dance person, all we can do is really emphasize the business aspects of that, components, because regardless, there is a business side, and I've got a budding dancer in my house. So yeah, that's the part I try to explain to her is that, at some point you are going, if you plan on going through and you want to have your own fitness studio, you probably need a business course and you do care about math. So linking that to those subjects. And then also, Ms. Lagunas mentioned this earlier, we had our first CT Advisory Council for Ag Science. We do have plans of trying to create one front end technology and robotics, or at least start them this year. Ultimately, the vision is to have these for all the different major subject areas. And once those get going and each led by the teacher, then we would end up with a district council that would be a council of representatives from all the other councils for a district CT council. Would ultimately be the goal. But I want to just point out a couple of neat things. Not only did we convene that one, we've got some initial rubrics because these councils are there to help us and industry partners to make sure, are we really truly industry aligned? Are we doing what's actually going on out there? Our robotics classroom was already blessed as you've got the right stuff in the room. Now that we have the robot, we have the right stuff starting this year. And we have the Animal Wellness Hospital. That's Dr. Bain. She couldn't make it that night. She had a family emergency she had to attend to, but she's part of our agricultural science. And so she's going to be consulting with us. Christian Brothers, he's already jumped forward and said he'd like to support us. I'm really aiming for him just to hire some kids right out. He's already told me he needs certain things and he'll train them himself. So I'm like, I got some people. And then Sisu, I didn't know they existed until now. Apparently they're really big on robotic arms for cinema. So if you those little cinematic cameras, but they have agreed to be our partner since we just bought their robotic arm.
That's awesome.
They're very happy to partner with us. So that's where the group there. And then hopefully next year I'll come with you with a whole new set of, we'll come with a whole new set of different industries that we're going to tackle next.
So are there any challenges finding industry partners or just having to do the legwork to go look for them?
I'm gonna let Travis do that because I just smile and say, Travis, go find me a partner.
I have a recommendation for the cybersecurity one. Have you reached out to Robert Rosenbush?
No, I have not.
I could email you with his company.
Please do.
Okay.
I hear Tesla's coming to town.
You heard what?
Tesla. I heard Tesla's coming to town. That might be a good partner.
To answer your question, most of the time we find people pretty willing to do it. Every once in a while, it's just knowing somebody to know somebody and
To open the door.
It's pretty easy.
There will be a time when I think I actually, again, Dr. Bain's name, I put the word out there and I actually went to TSTC to say, what's some industry partners out there for robotics? So this is one area where I may come to you all because each of you have expertise in the areas to come to you to say, you know anybody? Health sciences?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm waiting to schedule a visit to the Austin airport right down the street just to kind of see what employment or career out of aviation, just because they're not too far down from it. So, but yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the hard work in the CT.
That's all I have for you. Any other questions?
Good work. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Travis.
So we have two more reports. Are you guys good for us to take a break after the last two reports, or do you need to go now?
I'm good either way.
Okay. We'll get through these two and then we'll take a short break. So Mr. Gideon.
Those are just informational, the operations.
Yes, ma'am. These are informational. If you have any questions, Brandon and I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Okay.
But we do these every month. They're just updates on construction and updates on operations.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks for joining us online.
From the music room.
Yesterday he was in his wood shop.
Good evening, Madam President, Board. Dr. Thomas, tonight I will present to you the financial report through November. So we're 5 months into our fiscal year, so roughly 42% of our year. So when you look at the numbers and budgets, you kind of use that as a benchmark where we are at 42%. General fund, again, has a slight deficit. But as you can see, we're slowly starting to get some tax dollars in. We've been supported to this point by state aid, but the state aid payments will stop for a couple of months while tax payments come in. So currently we're running roughly $300,000 deficit. But that's slowly turning. Just a couple of things. As we mentioned earlier in the meeting, there's two functions that are, well, there's a couple of functions running over a little bit right now, but one is 33 health services and the other is 52 security. And again, most of that is COVID related with PPE. If you go to the next sheet, it's broken down into function and object. And again, as you can see, look at function 33, health services, supplies and materials. You can see how much over budget we are in that one. So again, that's the majority of it. And function 52, which is safety and security. Same thing under supplies, we're at 66%. So again, that's where the majority of the overages. Next month, again, in January, when I show you the December report, that'll show all this of the stipends that were paid. So it'll show a little different picture as far as expenditures. But again, it'll be offset by a lot of tax monies coming in. Any questions on general fund? Okay. We'll go to debt service. Again, debt service running in a deficit because of the payment we made early in the year. Again, this will start reversing itself. We don't get any state money on debt service, so it'll really start showing when we start collecting. December is a big tax collection month because if you itemize your taxes, then you want to write them off for 2020. You have to pay before the end of this month. So we'll collect a lot in this month, and then we'll collect a lot in January because unless you want to start paying penalty and interest starts on February 1. So we'll get a lot of money in December for tax purposes in January. So we'll avoid penalty and interest. Any questions on debt service? And then we'll go food service. Again, running a deficit this year mainly because of just lack of meals being served. The way things are looking right now, I don't think we're going to quite realize the deficit that I'd indicated earlier in the year, mainly because we're just not filling positions. Because we're serving less meals, we're needing less personnel. But we will run a deficit, but we do have fund balance to offset that deficit. And again, as I mentioned last month, we will show a due to and a due from. So if we transfer money in the general fund at this time, we will pay that back in future years. Any questions on food service? Okay. Narrative as far as the financials, I've pretty much just indicated what is written. If you want to go down to maybe investment, I believe. Okay, the investment report, Federal Open Market Committee did come out with a statement in November. It's kind of the same song, different verse. Just talks about the economic effects that the COVID pandemic has had and how they are basically remaining rates compressed to almost nothing. The portfolio cash balances at 94% in investment pools, 4% in mutual funds, and 2% cash. And that's a breakdown of the cash in each fund. Up to this point, most of those funds have been dwindling, especially food service fund, because our expenditures have exceeded revenues, but that'll start to change. We'll go to the next one. And then tax collections. I've changed this report. I've been debating the whole time, how am I going to present this to you on an apples to apples? So I've decided that I will just go with the tax, the appraisal district and Williamson County Tax Office. Their year. We start collecting current taxes in October. So I'm going to just show you what we collect from October through September, even though it doesn't necessarily coincide with our fiscal year. You can look on our fiscal, when I show you the general fund and debt service, you can see on there what we're collecting in our fiscal year. But I'm going to start showing you what is collected in the taxing entity or the tax office's fiscal year. So from now on, we'll show October through September with comparisons, and it will definitely be apples to apples from now on. But as you can see, we're collecting more taxes even this year. We're starting to collect more, mainly because as we know, property values have gone up. Even though we lowered our tax rate, property values go up. So we will collect more in tax revenues. And the investment report is basically back up what I mentioned earlier. This first report shows where the money is being invested at the time. And the next report shows in which fund. And the tax collection report again is broken down by current year and delinquents and penalty and interest down below. And then also gives you a comparison from previous years. There's not a whole lot to report right now. We'll start starting in January, February, we'll get a lot better idea of exactly what our student numbers are going to look like and how that translate. We're still above what we budgeted in state aid. But as of right now, if things continue, we'll probably see a slight deficit in our general fund because of the stipends that we've approved and so forth. But I did mention, and you'll read in my Friday report, I talked to a teacher that was in a neighboring district, and she asked me, "Are y'all giving bonuses or bonuses? Are y'all giving stipends?" And I said, "Yeah, we are." And she goes, "Man," and it didn't really hit me until I started talking to her about that and how much it means to her. So, it's not so much, she goes, "Yeah, the monetary award is great, but it's just the fact that you recognize your teachers and employees for what they did." So congratulations to y'all.
Ben, I got a question on that tax collection number where we changed it to years.
Yes, sir.
So why is 2021 less than 1920 right now?
I think he flipped them.
Did I get my columns right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all it is. If that's it, that's cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Actually, let's look at this one. Got to get these one?
No, it was on the year to year.
This one. I'll get that correct.
That's no problem.
Any other questions?
Yes, sure. Just curious on the investments that we do from the different funds. Does that change throughout the year, or is it pretty much stays the same?
Well, right now, because the interest rates are what they are, there's really not a whole lot of opportunities out there, and the yield curve's inverted. So we're keeping them in short term because we actually are earning more money than we start laddering. But I know Caleb's been working on a cash flow projection. We will start, as soon as that curve changes, we'll start taking some, especially construction funds and debt service funds, and start laddering those out into 2 and 3 and 4 months. Because it is public money, taxpayer money, we are very limited, and rightfully so, on what we can go out.
Yeah.
And so it's just, since we are limited in that, there's not a whole lot of opportunity out there.
Is that made at the district level, or are you consulting with our finance people?
Well, right now, there's not a whole lot to.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I know enough to be dangerous on investments, I pretty much can understand what someone else is going to tell me.
Okay. I was just curious. That's all.
Considering that what we're going through in our economies with this pandemic, some areas of the country are seeing recessions, others are not. You know, this part of this country is more vibrant, right? We stay afloat better than others. Are we seeing any savings yet on construction numbers based on the demand?
Henry, I may defer that to you if you're still online.
Yes, sir. It's kind of up and down. What we're really benefiting from is in May of 19, a lot of districts elected not to go out for bond elections. And many districts like ourselves that are in the quote unquote fast growth corridors of Texas are in need of new and renovated instructional space because of growth. Because those districts elected not to go forward with bond elections, both in May of this year, pardon me, and in November, there is an expected drought of work over the next 6 to 8 months, because I do think many of those districts will go out in 21 with bond work. So we may see some competitive pricing. I know we saw some competitive pricing with regards to both the stadium and the middle school reno projects. I'm not going to say that we saw contractors attempt to buy the contract so they could keep the work going. So we may see some improvements in construction costs, but overall the construction climate is continuing to go through the roof. We had a budget review today with our vendor partner Joris and BOK to talk about the stadium, and steel prices are certainly high, inexplicably, and it may just have to do with our area, but site work and dirt work is a premium. And there are a lot of trades that are struggling to get labor. And so while we may see supply costs go down, and we may see some adjustments in the trades as far as what they're selling in the way of a completed project, labor costs are continuing to go up. So it's kind of mixed. But I think the board has strategically done a good job by selling bonds early to maximize that, and then hopefully we will see some savings on the construction side.
Thank you, Mr. Gideon.
There's one thing I forgot to mention, and Robert, if we go to the general fund, back to the general fund. No, last month I had indicated that I was really concerned about some of our other local revenues, like gate receipts, bond interest and such. And if you look at, go to it. All right. And so if you look here, we're already over budget. And you're like, oh, well, I thought you said we weren't getting it. Well, that's all our COVID reimbursements. Okay, so that's what that shows. So we will definitely, it looks like we'll definitely earn the revenues that were budgeted. So now it's just the amount of additional expenditures we did through payroll. So Just wanted to point that out, that our COVID monies are going into that other local resources.
So do we have to do a budget amendment to show that money coming in?
I will later in the year. I will more than likely. I don't usually do a whole lot of budget amendment on the revenue side, but if we do have a big influx of revenue and we offset it with expenditures, then I will. I'll do a budget amendment on both sides.
If you have a budget surplus in a particular function, can that serve to float a deficit elsewhere? Can you just move, you can just move between those functions with a.
That's what a budget amendment
With
would
a-
do, because the board has to approve the
Right.
functions.
Amendment, okay.
So that's what we'll do. One function. Okay, the second report I have is basically a summary of our bond sale that we just completed. We received those funds today, so everything's settled. So we
37 million.
received those monies and now it's, we got them ready to say.
That's why you got flat.
But I just wanted to show you some of the information because we really had a great sale. And the results were better than we even anticipated. Back in October, if you remember, Josh McLaughlin, BOK, gave you a scenario where we would again go out for 37.5, anticipated a 2.98% interest rate. We realized a 2.13. We were able to, again, 46 cents on the debt service side. So our net bond payments will be 50.8 million as opposed to 58.5 million. So over the life of this bond, we'll save taxpayers $7.7 million. We anticipated this year, as you know, we were going to dip into some fund balance. We needed the 46 cents and we needed to use some of our fund balance. Well, because of the interest savings, we're not going to use as much as our fund balance. So we anticipated using 571 this year. We're going to only use 416. So that's a savings of 155,000. Over the next 5 years, the bond payments will go up, but that's because we reduced the maturity by a year. We were able, because of the interest rate was so low, we were able to go out and it'll mature in 2050 as opposed to 2051. So again, there's a lot of really good stuff here, but that $7.7 million over the life of the bond is really what we're really happy about. You want to go to the next page? Again, this basically shows just some market data where interest rates maturity have been over the last year or so. And we timed it pretty good. All right, go to the next one. Again, this basically just shows where the interest rates have been all the way back to 2000. And I believe, and then we'll see it later, that highest interest that the district sold bonds at was around 6%. But we timed it just about right with the 2.13. The lowest it ever got was 2.02. Again, this is basically a breakdown of who bought our bonds. Most of them were institutional buyers. Investment managers were 37%, proprietary accounts 50%. But those were the firms that bought the most of the bonds.
I guess we didn't have anybody local.
We offered that, but didn't have any takers. And I talked to Josh about that, and he said, Glenn, basically it's because your interest rate was too low.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just what it was.
For the retail side, right? I mean, it's not, yeah.
Right. And if we go to the next slide. And again, this touches on the fact that we did put out an advertisement, and we had a couple of people call my office and ask some questions. So, but I think, again, it just got to the point where I'm not sure they wanted just to tie in those funds for that long period of time at that low interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a comparison here of all the issues that is current.
That's what I was getting.
As you can see, in 09, I believe. Yeah. at an interest rate of 6. But of all the bonds outstanding, the one we just sold has the lowest interest rate. And I mentioned to you earlier, you know, if we could possibly have done it, I'd have sold every one of them. But we didn't have that capacity. And hopefully, well, it's a double-edged sword. You're like, hopefully it'll stay for the next year, but that's not really a good sign for a big economy. So I guess I don't want that, but I just really, you know, good. It's just really good we could take advantage of it when we did it. Every day we kind of sit there and go, you know, COVID was a bad thing, but you can always find a little silver lining every once in a while. And this is just one of the things that we took advantage of. And so go to the next slide. Anyway, so yeah, let the confetti fall. But again, it's just one of those things, you made a very tough decision and we debated it quite often. And I think everybody here knew that even though we hated to do that, it was just a good financial decision that even if it was my personal and your personal money, it's something you'd have done. So I appreciate the support and allowing us to move forward on this. Okay.
Do we have any refi opportunities coming?
They'll be coming up, but several months down the road. And I don't anticipate rates doing anything different until we get to that point.
That'd be a good opportunity.
Right.
What's available to us in this bond? And I might not be asking the right question. I don't understand enough about this, but what's available to us while we don't use the bond yet, but it's sitting there? Are we earning interest on it or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So those funds, we received them today. We separate everything out, and every quarter I show you a capital projects, our funds, our capital projects funds. So this money went into our fund 622. And so that's how we track it by fund. It's in there. And as these projects kick off, we'll start using that money. But at the same time, we are investing that money as we speak right now. There has been in times in the past where you fall into an opportunity where you actually may invest that money at a higher rate than what you borrowed it at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that gets into tax implications, and IRS will not let us keep more than what we're paying as called arbitrage. So it has that environment hasn't happened in quite a while. When I would say around 08 and 09, you could fall into some of that arbitrage, basically because the government allowed you to go out and sell capital appreciation bonds. I'm sorry, what were they called? They're not cabs. BABs, Build America bonds, almost cabs. And so when the financial markets crashed in 08, then they allowed school districts to go out and basically have interest-free loans because they wanted to start construction on things. And so the government allowed you to basically go out for very, very low interest. But then you could turn around and invest it at higher interest. So, but if we ever get in that environment, we're going to get all the interest we possibly can. Some districts say, well, we're not going to earn so much, so we don't have to pay arbitrage. But I think, no, you earn all you can. We'll write the check to IRS if that's what we need to do.
What kind of a term investments do we look for? Short term, long term?
Well, with a construction project, I can consult with Henry and architects and the CMARs and say, okay, I need some payment schedules. When are you going to need your payment? And I go to our CMAR construction manager and say, on this project, when do you anticipate that we will need to make payments? And so we'll start laddering out. We'll know, okay, we need X amount of dollars. And so there's so much that we need liquid at this month and this month and this month. And what we don't, we'll ladder it out to the life of the project.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Board.
Yay for saving money on our bond sale.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
And yay for ending your presentation with confetti. Okay, we'll take a quick 5-minute break because 5 minutes enough. Stand up and stretch.
Yes.
And then come back.
Yep. And just before we break, a big thank you to Glenn and Todd for grilling our steaks. It's a great.
Yeah.
Y'all know why I'm at counting, I'm not sure.
Well, even Robert can grill.
Even Robert can do something.
Okay, so let's get back on track here. We are on the consent agenda, so if you want to look over that, just let me know when you're ready.
Anybody anticipate pulling anything from the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull something.
Which one?
10F.
I'm in the scrolling mode and not the click on mode. So which one is F?
The hiring authority.
The hiring authority to the superintendent.
Thank you.
So I will move to 10F if we have to, unless we don't need that.
We have to move, don't have, announce it.
Okay.
So just let me know if you're done with the rest of them.
Billy, just remind me, we're gonna do the rest of the consent agenda first, and then we'll do the pulled items?
Yes.
Okay. Just.
I'm good. I don't have my phone.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, we are going to pull item 10F from the consent agenda. Is there a motion for the remaining items?
There is. I make a motion. Sorry. Okay. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended by pulling item 10F.
Motion made by Ms. Hubbard.
Second.
Second by Mr. Boutwell. All in favor? The motion passes. So item 10F is consideration and possible action to approve 10F, consideration and approval to transfer hiring authority to superintendent for contract employees from December 18th, 2020 through March 12th, 2021. So Mr. Padilla?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I figured since it's on the consent agenda, we might as well give the superintendent the opportunity tonight. If we want to extend that, considering that goes up to March, and then we're going to hit the summer period as well. Would it benefit you, Dr. Thomas, for us to just consider approving that through the summer in one fell swoop with the intent to revisit that during the summer for local, to change the local board or local policy? Would it help, or would that in any way?
I think our HR people would be absolutely thrilled. Just because it does expedite the hiring process throughout the month. I don't know that COVID the COVID conditions are going to lift anytime soon, and we just need to be able to bring.
Thinking that, because I really don't think even getting through March that condition will lift. I bet it will persist through the summer. And since we do that every year anyway, it might be a good idea, as I said, with the intention of revisiting the policy in the summer to start in the fall. It might be a good idea, just for the purposes of continuity, to just approve it through the summer today. That's what I wanted to discuss with the board, bring up, if it works for the superintendent and for Lisa.
I'd like to see what other places are doing. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, going to March right now, but is this what everybody else does, or does every other superintendent just have authority?
It depends on, again, in your larger districts, they just have hiring authority.
Yeah.
And they bring your principal positions, your director positions, those normally wait because those aren't as urgent as your classroom positions. Yeah.
Lisa, can you pull up what our policy says, about this?
I sent that to Dr. Thomas.
Yes.
About it last week.
Yes.
Would you like me to share it with the?
Yes, you can share with the board.
So basically, in short, Dr. Thomas has hiring authority over non-exempt positions. And then the board has hiring authority over Chapter 21 contract and positions. So teachers and anyone that signs a Chapter 21 contract has to be brought to the board.
Per the superintendent's hiring recommendation on a monthly basis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's what our policy says. If I could add, I know that it also delays the exit process for the teachers. You know, they get a little anxious waiting to from 1 month to the next. So we've had some resignations now, and they're just now going to, well, I just notified them at 7:30 that they're officially released tomorrow. And so that creates some delays in the notification process to parents that the teachers are going to be replaced or whatever their internal process is. It does cause some delay because we're waiting from month to month to get that final approval.
So I hear what Edgar's saying. I guess my deal is it takes me a little longer to process things. I have no problem with going to March right now, but I don't know why that was put in there to where the board had to have approval. You know, I don't know if it was because
something happened or.
Yeah. I mean, you know, so.
It's been a policy ever since I've been in.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not.
It might be a.
Every district, it definitely delays processes for us.
Yeah.
It may have just been something that we've continued to go with.
Oh, I agree.
Previously, and things have changed.
I mean, can you think of any, I mean, you've been around this too, any other reason why it would, like I said, I have no problem going till March. I just don't know all the way through the summer if it's like, okay, why was this in there? You know,
Yeah, that's fair. And that's totally fair. I just wanted to bring it up because I know we talked about, you know, taking a look at the policy, maybe possibly making a change. So it's certainly not something that, you know, we've got to do tonight, but I think it's certainly worth us considering moving forward.
So can we research like with some of what other districts do, or maybe a little more about that policy and then
yeah, because
talk about it later?
And like I said, I know I've been here 12 years and I can't ever remember like, oh no, you know, I can remember going, are you sure? You know, or something like that, because, you know, they've been here before or something.
And I know this isn't based on any facts, but I think that sometimes it was because sometimes the board members perhaps knew some of those applicants, or they had insight on them.
I bet it's a relic of when we were a 2A and a 1A. Yeah.
We have a pretty robust process when we get an applicant in. I mean, they are vetted extensively in HR before they get to Dr. Thomas's desk. So we feel confident when we bring a recommendation to her that we've done all that we need to do as far as any process to ensure that the candidate is qualified and that there is
I'm sorry, there's a puppy somewhere.
Something. It's a puppy crying to hiring authority.
His dogs come visit me every time.
I'll take another one home.
Okay, so are we in agreement? Well, you had that item pulled, Edgar, so do you want to make?
I think that's okay. And then maybe in January, we can revisit
But we can revisit it actually at the March meeting.
or the March meeting.
This will take us through spring break,
Do it.
which is good, because we can hire who we need to at that point, and then we can make another adjustment at the March meeting.
Okay.
Thank you for considering it.
Yeah.
So Lisa, will you do the research about that? Okay.
Yep.
So
Make a motion to approve as written. Sorry,
As presented.
as presented.
okay, so we have a by Mr. Padilla to
Transfer hiring authority to the superintendent for contract employees from December 18th, 2020 through March 12th, 2021.
yes, and second by Mr. Owens. So all in favor? Motion passes. Okay, Mr. Gideon, I think you're up for a while.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. The first item on the agenda of action is in relation to our ninth grade center project. This is for a change order to the contractor's contract, BP1 or GMP1, if you will, for the installation of our turn lanes. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. For the benefit of our new board members, anytime we do new green development, whenever there is a potential new impact to roadways that are existing, we are required to address or mitigate those traffic concerns, or if there's an infrastructure concern. So in this case, we're obliged to do something on 1660 to give us safe ingress, egress off of FM 1660. And specifically, this will involve about a 300-foot long turn lane that is a right turn lane into a shared drive that we will have with D.R. Horton to the south, and a left turn lane that will obviously come from the north. What the change order does is it allows us to move contingency dollars that are in the budget, and then we will fund the rest of the road project using interest dollars earned, all of which come from the 2008 bond proceeds.
Anybody have any questions?
And as the board may recall, you previously approved an advanced funding agreement with TxDOT. We have to go through their bureaucracies with all due respect because we're working on their site.
Yeah, that you just answered my question, Henry. That's what I was going to ask. Okay, thank you.
Do you have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the ninth grade center AIA G701-2017 change order to add the 1660 turn lanes.
Motion made by Ms. Hubbard,
Second.
second by Mr. Botwell. All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you, board members. Our next item is in reference to Joris. We have previously recommended and you have approved Joris to be the contractor for our stadium project. We have gone back and done the negotiations on the contract. In relation to that, there are no changes based on what we advertised for the competitive bidders that participated. So we're bringing back that draft for your approval, and then Dr. Thomas will sign along with Joris as soon as we can get back from the holidays. Similar to what we did last month with Cheney Cox and the middle school renovations.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the standard form of agreement between Hutto ISD and Joris General Contractors LLC and authorization for the superintendent to sign as owner representative.
Second.
A motion made by Ms. Hubbard and second by Mr. Padilla. All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you again, board. The next item is an item we brought to you last month for general discussion. Tonight, we're bringing forward a recommendation to the board to consider a permanent recommendation versus a temporary recommendations in regard to our human resource department as well as our payroll staff. There is money, as the board will recall, in the budget for phase one basic renovations, additions, mainly demolition and renovations to the gym. Very important step that we need to constantly remind ourselves. We have a building next door to us that is not safe anymore for occupation, and we need to do something with that old building and do something with the gym, which we all cherish and we think we've got a good plan for. So we have money for phase one in that regard, along with some other civil improvements. We have $500,000 also set aside for relocating the Little Hippos into new portables. And we have a $500,000 currently set aside for portables for the HR option. As the administration studied this, we felt like we had an obligation at least to bring it to your table to discuss the possibility of maybe turning that into more of a permanent solution. Now that involves asking for additional M&O dollars. But either way, you have a mean and a method for putting our human resource and our payroll departments together. We just think that it would be better money spent, given that we have a a phased master plan, and that this permanent solution would in no way affect long-term the other improvements that we anticipate are going to take a lot more money and likely a future bond discussion. So it's our recommendation that you give that some consideration.
So Henry, is moving the Little Hippos dependent on our decision tonight, or is that happening regardless?
No, ma'am. The Little Hippos project is already, we have about 2.3 million in approved dollars. 1.3 is for the renovations and demo work to RHA, 500,000 for the Little Hippos, and 500,000 currently for portables for HR, and so it wouldn't affect Little Hippos at all.
Right.
It would
That's already
also,
in motion.
yeah, it would also free up with the portables that are there, although I'd like to move some of those off of that corner. It will give Dr. Samani some additional swing space because we know we're going to grow. It will enable him to maybe bring itinerant teachers back, and they could be housed in some space that's made available. I'm not going to commit to the portables because he may want to do something different, maybe with our 18+ program or something along those lines. The new ask is specifically a permanent structure in lieu of a portable solution.
Henry, would that still require us moving the train depot?
Well, that'll be it won't be in the way in either decision we make tonight. Okay. What I've got to do is work through the city and then bring back to you, but also to the city, a plan for what to do with the train depot. It's no secret that the city has an interest. There's a possible locale that could be at one of the parks, or may very well, I've even been told the possibility of it being relocated to the new City Hall complex down there. There is definitely an interest in the part of the city in taking ownership of that and then turning that into a historical museum.
But will we still use that space though, after whatever we approve tonight?
Well, once whatever solution is decided on, we're going to move as quickly as we can to put HR into a more permanent suggestion. So once HR is relocated, whether into a portable or into a permanent solution, then we will discontinue using that.
Okay. That was my question. Like if we, whatever we go with, we're just going to just leave it empty and not try to use it for something else.
That's correct. And I would think that the city is going to be hot to get to that building as soon as they can.
So, Henry, my question is, this being M&O dollars and, you know, not knowing what the legislative session is going to do with next year's funding or the next biennium funding, can we stop after phase one of this? I mean, is phase one stop you in a spot to where we don't have to go, you know, I don't want us to come to us next year like we started this, we've got to finish it next year. Is phase one, can it stand alone for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, realistically, I don't think we can do much more with the 200 College Street project without a conversation with our community and a possible future bond election. Honestly, you probably need 82 to 90,000 square feet of new space or renovated space. You're in the tens of millions now. You're probably close to 20 million for the phase 2 and 3. But I think this buys us some time. I don't want to, I mean, you've already approved the M&O dollars for the renovations and demo. That's very important because you've got a liability sitting over there of a building that cannot be occupied. And if we can restore the gym, which we think, and our architects are pretty confident that we can, then we have a building that we can put back into use that becomes a swing space for Dr. Sermani to use for professional development during the day. And then at night, the city rec programs will benefit, or if we want to run community ed programs out of there, we can really maximize it. But I don't anticipate coming back to y'all for any additional M&O requests, other than if there's a major repair concern. That's always my caveat that I have no solution to, like a 17-ton air unit that goes out. I don't think we would do anything else on the M&O side that would be capital improvement.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is, in the presentation I'm looking at, it shows phase 2 of 21 and 22. That's not funded, right?
Right.
Yes, sir.
You're not
That-
approving that.
And, okay.
Where'd he go?
No, he's-
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. No, I think that presentation included just the full layout of what each of the phases would entail. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that
we're
was
only asking you to fund one part of
Right,
that.
but I mean, you have years
Right.
posted with it. I mean, it's what bothers me, right? Is,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, that was
I
just,
don't-
that was just a master plan scenario that we brought to you for discussion.
Yeah.
So there's the option to finish phase 1 and then potentially, if we needed to, go out for a bond to complete phase 2 and 3 down the road.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And so tonight, we have the option A of constructing the portable or modular facility of some sort for HR to get them out of there with what we've already approved, or start phase 1 of this project. Right?
Yeah.
Those are two.
With a permanent building.
With the permanent building.
Yes.
Right. Take the $500,000 you already have set aside and allocated and add to that from M&O proceeds designated, you're designating those fund balances at that point to do a permanent structure for the human resource in our payroll system.
We always have these hard decisions to make.
Well, you know, what I have in mind is having to spend the money for phase 1 and then it being a temporary solution and then having to come back and do a permanent solution. So I'd like to maximize our dollars. If we go with a permanent building, we know we're not going to have to come back and
remove it.
So, you know, thinking about dollars saved and dollars spent, I'd always like to go with a permanent solution. But again, I know that's a tougher decision.
And I think for me, and I'm kind of like I'm kind of on the fence, like what Philip's saying, that, you know, M&O money is for operating our school district and we're taking funds to go build a building. But then also look at HR as being that first impression of new hires and coming in and hopefully giving Lisa and them in payroll a more space to be more efficient and to be able to, you know, onboard those new employees. And so it kind of indirectly will hopefully translate to when that new hire comes in, they're excited and I'm ready to get to work to serve these kids. So that's kind of how I justify, you know, it being okay.
Yeah, it's that first.
Changing the culture starts when you walk through the door on day one.
Right.
And I really think that gym will be another historical focus for the city. And there's so many other organizations out there that need space that they just don't have. And I think that's just going to provide it.
Here's what I think too. We invested in a director of human capital for the exact purpose that, you know, so we said that was important with that position. Is it still important to us, you know, with this?
I have no problem building the permanent building. I think what scares me is what's College Street going to be left like? You know, is it going to be left to a position where the next year, you know, everybody's complaining, you know, it's a
blank space.
A blank space and, you know, and
how long is it going to be?
And then that kind of forces our hands to commit more M&O dollars instead of waiting on the next bond sale. And then I'm worried about the biennium if I just feel like we may get cut again, you know, when the comptroller comes down and says, well, you ain't got any money, you know, they got to do something.
Well, we may be forced to use funds that are undesignated by designating them, at least that they're already committed funds and they don't go into those funds that seem to be readily available as well.
Run that by me again.
So there's talk out there that if you have more than your 90 days of emergency operating expenses, and you should be designating those funds.
Right.
And rather than just letting them sit there in your bank account, because that could be seen as Hutto ISD, you've got some money there that you can use for operations. That could be something used to penalize us for state aid.
Yeah, but now I gotta say, I see the legislative side there where you're taxing people because you say this is what I need to run my school. And really, you don't need that much to run your schools, you know?
The only reason we have extra money this year, so to speak, is because of the changeover in fiscal years. And we were able to add those funds into fund balance.
I don't know if I agree with that. And we had fund balance before.
Yes, but we added even more.
We added quite a bit.
Yes, a whole lot more.
Yeah, you only get one shot when you go from
right.
July to September. I remember we did this in another district I worked in, and we, for a period of time, had a healthier fund balance. Not to say this is to sway your decision, but we did use that money for capital improvements.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't have a problem with year one. It's year 2 and 3, I think, that does struggle.
And the fact that there's years attached to this presentation.
Yeah. But with the intent that ultimately those would be bond dollars, right?
No, I mean, we're not going out for a bond in 21, 22,
No.
23, 24.
I'm saying the master plan ultimately would be dependent on bond dollars. Is that correct? That's what I understood.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I apologize.
Henry, yes, I'm sorry, Henry, go ahead.
I apologize. You know, we really just tasked Jessica to build us with a dream of how we might ladder things out. I don't know that you need to focus so much on year, but rather your master plan is 3 phases. This first phase, then there's a second phase, and then there's ultimately a third phase. It's a difficult conversation because you get, honestly, once every generation an opportunity to talk about your central admin. You as a board are growing, and our district is growing, our community is growing. At some point in time, that conversation is going to have to be a bond dollar conversation. But I don't anticipate, Philip, I think we can work with existing resources, even if that means certain staff members that are, quote, centralized are then relocated and housed elsewhere, then we have to do that. We'll be freeing up some portables, and therefore we may have to continue to move staff around in the district. But the elephant in the room is at some point in time, we, and the community have to have a hard conversation about a district that's now 6A moving towards 2 high schools. We're going to be 12,000 students in the next 5 to 7 years, and we've outgrown our central administration building. I'm not trying to put pressure on anybody whatsoever. We can live with what you've allocated, and we can make that work. If we ask and get a little extra money to come up with a permanent solution, we simply are asking because you do, I don't want to say windfall because that's probably not the correct term, but you have a little bit of money sitting in fund balance. My thought is, why not do a permanent solution instead of a temporary solution that we'll have to undo in 5 to 7 years and then go back in with a more permanent solution. It probably wouldn't have worked for any other dynamic because HR and payroll could operate as standalone, whereas the other departments are more interrelated, if you will. But anyway, it's y'all's decision. Y'all hold in trust these decisions, and so we're bringing forward a recommendation, and I don't want to belabor my comments any further.
No, I think that it's hard because as board members, we always want to look at what directly impacts students first. But if you consider the reality is everything that we do and the way we operate and the efficiencies that are in place, all of that will ultimately impact students positively. And I think if we think about it that way,
it's easier for me. I don't get me wrong, I still struggle with it. That's a lot of M&O, right? I mean, it's 1.1, but I understand why the idea is there. And I understand the importance of starting with something that allows Lisa and her team and others to operate effectively, have what they need, to say nothing of the value to the culture of when you're onboarding and when you're recruiting and when you're hosting and when you're doing those things and having those facilities that are commensurate with where you're trying to take the district. I think that's critical. But it is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but there are also, there are many districts across this who continually budget accordingly and use M&O for construction projects. And going back to Philip's question, I think Philip makes a good point, because what's going to happen, and it's not so much that we're going to come back in a year or two and try to force your hand at anything, but I want us to be mindful of the fact that right now we're taking care of HR because we invested in a director of human capital. It's important for our employees, but I don't want us to forget about school support. I don't know if you've walked through school support. That department is they're constantly trying to rearrange and try to find spaces for work. That building does not heat properly, does not cool properly. These past few days when it's been cold, there's people that run space heaters underneath. That's always a hazard. We don't deny people bringing in space heaters because they have to be comfortable in order to work. Well, one of these days we're going to have a fire.
Don't say that.
Yes. No, I know. I'm not going to say that, but I do want to be honest that
concern.
That school support is a concern. I want to direct your eyes to this corner right here. Look at what's happening with those cracks going up the wall. There's some real needs here with our buildings. So
I don't think anybody's arguing that the need for that, though. It's just the struggle with how we're going to get there.
I think if I'm not mistaken, what I've heard over and over again is not that we don't see the value in this project in a more permanent setting. I think the question was, we wanted to be very clear that this did not, like, we officially accept this.
Right.
And then by proxy, accept everything else. I think that was really, if I'm hearing what's been shared, I think that was the sticking point that was said the most often. And so one request I might make is that if this is and it is a beautiful site plan, I think that we need to be very clear on perhaps editing those documents, take those dates off, include the phases on there so that we don't inadvertently the assumption is now that next year, this is what the construction project is. I think that's a small edit that could be made in those renderings. And I think that would bring a lot of ease to everybody, knowing that we've not then just approved a string of projects that we don't currently have fund balance to fund.
And Morgan, I totally agree with that. I just want the board to understand that I want to reserve the right to be able, and not necessarily the right, but I want to be able to come back in a year or two, because if we find ourselves where we do have the ability to use some of these funds to continue to improve College Street, I want to be comfortable in being able to bring that back to the table. I understand where we are right now, and I understand the concern and I think what you said is perfect, but I don't want us walking out here thinking, all right, we're just going to approve this one part and we're not going to consider anything else until we can go out for bond, because that may not be realistic.
It's going to be a tough discussion with me because I was part of the group that went to the public and said we needed a TRE. And because the state had cut our funding, and we have never given that back. The state has given it back, but we have never given it back.
Because we've continued to grow.
Well, I mean, you get more funding per student with that.
Part of the reason we don't give it back is because state penalizes us if we do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but you see my point too, right?
Well, and I think this is it's a healthy discussion, and it's a good problem to have. You alluded to Harlingen's one of them, Harlingen ISD. They don't go, they do all their construction out of M&O.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Every penny out of M&O.
He does. They don't.
So they don't. So what we're talking about is whether we should use the money that we've collected through legitimate sale, tax collection for the purposes of maintenance and operations, which I think we could all agree, this is part of operations, instead of actually going and paying more money to borrow money.
Correct.
So it is a good problem to have, right? Because we do have a healthy fund balance. And I'm like you, if I got money in my savings account, I don't want to touch it, right? But at the same time, I understand this 1.1, and to Morgan's great point.
Yeah.
You know, the way I look at it is we need to scrutinize this every step of the way. And I feel like we have. I know, you know, that we have, the ELT has. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's a good problem to have. We have a fund balance and we can fund it at an M&O instead of paying interest to fund it.
Yes.
But, you know.
It's also, like you said, you don't want to be tied down in a future.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't want to be tied down to feel obligated to.
But, and we can, you know, if.
And we're not.
And we're not. I think we, but I want to be able, I want you to know that this is.
You may come back next year and say, I want to fund it.
Right.
I understand that.
And Henry, when
here
you
soon.
had the meeting with the community, was part of your discussion, like, when you talked about what we would do with College Street, was part of the discussion, like, this is potentially going to be demolished, and how do you all feel about that?
Yeah.
I didn't understand the first part, Billy.
When you had your meeting with the community right here about the potential construction happening, was it the historical commission?
Generally speaking, everything that we've kind of laid out in these different phases were what we've kind of been daydreaming about. And actually, some of this goes back to the long-range master facility planning discussion we had in 2019. And some of the board members may remember there was about an $18 million line item in there for a new central administration that would have taken care of some of that. That was removed, rightly so, good decisions. And so then we just went back to sort of that really rough wish list schematic, tuned it up a little bit. And that's when we started engaging with the historical commission once y'all gave us authorization to use some fund balance dollars to do something with the old main building and the gym. Included in that conversation was the relocation of Little Hippos, which they got very excited about because we'd removed some of those portables on that corner. And we mentioned at that time a portable building to house growth, not necessarily for HR and for payroll, but we knew we would have to bring something in temporarily. So even though that's generally, I would say that community and the historical commission and our continued discussions with the city have been around those same concepts. And Jessica has been working on our behalf with the city on the permanent solution to try to get an understanding of any authority having jurisdiction concerns like stormwater control, drainage, and so on and so forth. So we've stayed in touch with the city. I believe the city supports the effort. I believe the community members, our neighbors that came, support the effort. Not that they know specifically that we're talking about a permanent solution for HR, but what we're trying to do is to be good stewards of our existing facilities.
And to add to that, Billy, we actually took them over to look at the state of the building. And I think that pretty much sold them like, yeah, you're right. This needs to go away.
Most of them got out of there without being attacked.
Some of the material.
So, Henry, I'm assuming this graphic on the future master plan is just not up to date because the HR building's not shown on it. It doesn't go away, right?
The current one?
The depot?
When you go to future master plan, down at the bottom.
I think the thought is eventually that building moves.
The existing building goes away.
No. The new building we're showing building is not in this drawing. Right beside.
I see what you're saying, Philip.
Yeah.
What slide are you on?
70. Future master plan at the bottom.
Additions and renovation.
Oh, but look, there looks like there's red typing in it. It says add in new building on Redbud and Taylor Street into this graphic.
No.
So, I guess somebody never did that.
Yeah, on slide 6 of 11 is the actual conceptual of that, what that permanent structure might look like adjacent to Redbud and Taylor Street.
What number is that on the total slide, Henry? Do you know?
I don't know about how y'all are seeing your view, but on 6 of 11.
It's still up a few.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know what number.
I think it's the one that says conceptual site plan.
It says conceptual site plan, and that's where we have our current budget estimate that Jessica has been working on.
That's 6, 7, 8.
Oh, there's the new building, yeah.
So I guess I was on the last one.
Yeah, look at slide 366.
Yep, I did.
Yeah.
I see the building and I saw it in the first one, but then when I got to the end thing, it was gone. And I was like, well, if we're building it permanent, it shouldn't go away.
Well, right. And I'm sure you were looking at 3 of 11, that phase 1 site plan would have been what we presented before and we secured budget dollars on because we weren't contemplating at that time a permanent solution.
Actually, I think I'm looking at 11 of 11, maybe.
Yeah.
Or
that's 11.
It's,
yeah.
I
It's
see
gone in
what you're
11
saying.
of 11 too.
Yeah, that needs to be updated. My apologies. That slide is intended for you to see the other buildings that we would focus on later on down the road.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't building it permanent and then it goes away.
No, sir. And the reason for this particular, well, I'm beating a dead horse.
You wrote it in red there. It's at the bottom in writing.
I got you.
All right.
Are there any other questions? If not, then do we have a motion?
Yeah. I have a motion to approve the administration's recommendation to pursue the permanent facility option to house human resources and payroll and amend the fiscal 2020-2021 budget by $1.1 million.
Second.
Does anybody want to make the motion?
I did it.
Oh, I didn't hear you say you made it.
Sorry.
Okay. Motion made by Ms. Hubbard, second by Mr. Boutwell. So all in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members. We'll be good stewards with that and we'll keep you posted as we develop. The next item is related to a task, new task request by Pfluger. This would then include your action that you just took. Pfluger has a proposal to us as is in the attachments for work that would be already allocated out of the money you've already allocated for us for design work, civil design, structure, et cetera. And item 2 would be inclusive of the 200 College Street improvement with the permanent solution. So I didn't want to put that in consent until you've had a chance to make a decision about the former item we just resolved. There will be another task sheet from Pfluger once we start designing that permanent structure. They'll have fees associated with the design, but that would be inclusive of the money that you would have approved tonight.
Motion?
I make a motion to approve the new task request to owner architect agreement regarding the 200 College Street project.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Hubbard and second by Mr. Chavez. So all in favor? Motion passes. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to table 11E.
Motion to table item 11E. Second.
Second.
Second, motion made by Ms. Hubbard, second by Mr. Owens. All in favor?
Am I missing something?
At administration's request, they asked that we.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, motion passes. And I think we are at calendar.
Henry, I'm going to applaud you for wearing your suit at home.
Stand up.
Yeah.
Stand up.
He's got on upperwear. Is that what you're saying?
We're wondering.
Maybe he's just really a classy guy, you guys.
He is.
Even Henry is classy.
Y'all quit making fun of my lounge wear, please.
Still haven't stood up.
It's really pajamas.
He probably has jeans underneath. I know.
He's got shorts on.
Got shorts on.
PJ, Christmas PJs.
Yeah.
Okay, since we want to get out of here on the same day that we started this meeting, we have the calendar of future items. If there's anything, just a reminder that I'll be sending out updates, and Dr. Thomas will be getting us information about her evaluation in January. So we've got that meeting. And then I don't know if everybody got the word that the winter governance that we were going to go to in Galveston just was moved to virtual. So no Galveston.
Kima's out.
So if you guys have anything that you want to see on the agenda for January's meeting?
Well, I know I had requested something on our elections, and I don't know if that was going to be an action item.
On the agenda, Terrence, for discussion?
Well, I don't, maybe I just want it for discussion, not an action item.
Okay.
On
Places versus at large.
Places versus at large.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, good discussion.
So just a discussion.
Do you want to discuss it at the evaluation meeting or at the general meeting?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, if we have the time and, and I don't want to hold up a regular board meeting, but if we have time on the 14th, I think it'll be fine.
Okay. If we want to discuss it and if the board wishes to take any action, we have to take action in January.
Right, yeah.
I would, and I may be the only person who thinks of this, but we have repeatedly said that we want her meeting for the superintendent's evaluation to be focused on that, because it ends up getting to be a packed agenda, and then we aren't able to give her the time that she deserves to go through those things. So,
and I think the election part for me, it's not an action item, so I don't think it should take very long. So having it at the regular board meeting, and I agree with Morgan that, we need to focus on what the purpose of that 14th meeting is on.
And so.
We added something, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. The action, or the conversation that Terrence is asking for is, currently we have our election, our school board election is at large.
Yeah.
What he wants to research and discuss is moving to some places. An election that involves place. So.
So you know who you're running against, basically.
And as we get, it's a larger district, is it, and then.
I think we're off topic.
So,
Yeah. So I agree that we can put that, because we've already added something to the 14th. We can move that to for discussion purposes in the board president's report.
Okay.
Is there, and if we decided that that was something that we wanted to move forward with, we still have one more Thursday left in January where we could have an additional meeting. Is that correct or no?
Well, when are packets picked up, Todd? Like middle of January, right?
Hold the end of January, yeah.
They're due like.
It may not make something now.
Usually do, I can look it up.
I thought it was later than that.
They usually have about a month. So.
Yeah. To turn in around the middle of February.
I was thinking it was almost March you had it.
I think.
I'll discuss the board president, superintendent, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can always do discussion and possible action.
Yeah.
And not take action. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Philip?
Can we adjourn?
Second.
That was fast.
Philip, second by Ms. Hubbard, all in favor? Adjourned at 10:20.